That's what I'm talking about. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, Goglings, Gogorifics, and Gog peoples of the world, and welcome to episode, I should say, 337 of Pen and Pixels, as we continue with D&D Ghosts of Saltmarsh with myself, Arvin Eleron, your host here, and the GOG RPG crew. I am very sorry that we're starting late. My OBS basically blew up. I mean, like, essentially, it's a long story, but the way that it handles names, character names, and pictures got completely screwed up, and so it just meant that I was like, great, I have to rebuild this from scratch in about 15 minutes. So that sucked, and I apologize profusely. But we are here, and we are ready to go, and we are excited for some Ghosts of Saltmarsh and some D&D. Before we go any further, ways to support the channel. If you haven't done so already, please follow us here on GOG.com's Twitch channel. Please make sure to subscribe to us here on GOG.com's Twitch channel as well. You can get those DRM-free emotes to use here, there, and everywhere across Twitch, and it supports the streamers as well. And of course, please consider clicking through to our individual channels, because we have our own subsystems and Patreons and all that kind of good stuff as well. Otherwise, I think I have already thanked people for their support of the Grey Shade Kickstarter. So I don't need to do that, except to say that I'm also thankful to the people who are part of the mix as we get into Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And so with no further ado, I'm going to unmute myself and apologize unreservedly for interrupting anybody because I can't hear them. And then I'm going to unmute them so that now I can hear them. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to go over to reveal what is now a actual functional cams-only screen now that I fixed my goddamn OBS. And it's working again. And you can see that we are joined here by not 4, but 5 beautiful, amazing individuals. Some of the greatest people on offer. This is, by the way, an extraordinarily international, I want to point out again. We have 2 people from England, 1 person from Wales, 1 person from Germany, 1 person from Canada, and 1 person from my garbage country. I mean, from the United States. And we are here internationally to present to you some Ghosts of Saltmarsh. So I am very excited for all of that. Before we go any further, though, I want to introduce all of these folks to you, or rather let them introduce themselves. And I will start with a person directly below me here in the cams only overlay, who is completely awake, no problems, totally awake, and is ready to go. And that, of course, is our beloved Pyron Jade. Good to see you, Pyron. How are you, and how's life in the universe with you, and who are you playing today?
Hello, everybody. Yes, I had the wonderful plan of having a short nap before D&D because it's really late for me usually here, and I fell asleep, and like really, really deeply asleep. And then my alarm clock went off, and I more or less zombied to the computer, and so I'm here now. I've got tea, so it's getting better every moment. And I'm actually feeling fine because I just had a week of vacation, and we finished that room over there behind that secret door. So I'll very soon move my desk there, and then you're going to see the walls of that room.
Awesome.
How exciting for you. And I also finished Titan Quest on normal mode and want to talk about that. If somebody else in chat wants to talk about finishing Titan Quest on normal mode, I'm here. But before that, I'll play Waves Crashing Against Rocks, a Kenku Paladin who just leveled up to level 3, which I then did today, which was very, very exciting. And I think she got at least a boat out of everything that happened. So no ship. I wanted a ship, but
you did get a boat. That's true.
At least nobody else got the ship. So there's that.
That's true.
Not all paladins have to be lawful good. So
that's quite right. Nobody else got it. And you did get a boat, a small one, but still a functional boat, which is very exciting. And yeah, as soon as we get through this, we will talk about the fact that this group is now level 3. They have arisen to the mighty level 3, and we'll talk about what they've gained. I started hearing all this nonsense about I'm completely immune to this, and I can actually fly and pretend I'm a god and all that. So we'll find out exactly what they got at level 3 and as we go through. But it's always a pleasure to have Pyron with us. It is also a pleasure as well to have the Cat Thulu shirt wearing Darksaber 2K below us. Again, thank you, Saber, as always, for the various behind the scenes stuff that I had even less time than normal to do today because I was trying to keep my OBS from blowing up again. But thank you for doing that. And how is life in the universe with you? I know we're going to be excited to talk about what is next for Morthwill, but what's next with you in life, and who are you playing, etc.?
I'm good. I've been playing some really nice comfort games lately. Finished Diablo 2 with some of my community members on Saturday for the first time ever.
Oh, good.
Which was a great playthrough. So we've moved up to the next difficulty, and we might carry on with it. We might not. Don't know. But I really enjoyed the playthrough. Got back to Baldur's Gate 2 yesterday as well. Also worth mentioning David Warner, who did John Rennicus, passed away yesterday as well, suddenly. So he hasn't been in Baldur's Gate 2 that much, but I did play Siege of Dragonspear, which he featured very prominently in, and fantastic voice actor, really suited the role.
Yeah.
So that
and you'll get more of him in BG2, by the way, in the main quest as well. Mm-hmm. So there's that.
Yeah, and been playing some Hard Space Shipbreaker because chat loves seeing me cut through a bulkhead and seeing things catch on fire and then blow up in my face.
Sounds about right. Mm-hmm. And in today's game,
today I will be Morthwill Gogoniant, who is no longer just a mere dwarven artificer. He is now a dwarven artillerist who has many nice new tricks up his sleeve, which we can get into when we actually get to the level ups.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is not just a fancy new name where you're just like, really, you're just two artificers stacked on top of each other, basically. Like, it's not like that. It's much more impressive. So we will talk about that in a moment. Thank you, Saber. Always a pleasure. Moving right along, of course, we have the inimitable and wonderful Mike Smith, Peripheral Mike, who is with us. And I think, Mike, do I see you facing a different direction than I'm used to normal? Like,
yes,
okay,
because that's how my brain works, and I decided to change location for a 4th time in this house.
Okay.
So, and I've been told that I'm not allowed to change direction anymore, but this is a really nice space now because I've got my studio lights up, I've got my good camera, I've got some D&D posters behind me, I have a plush mimic as well sat on the radiator, which I purchased recently, as well as a stack of Talisman board games.
I saw that and was like, yes, let's go.
I shouldn't be allowed grown-up money. I really shouldn't. Which is fine because now I don't have any or savings. But yeah, life is really, really good. I've just finished a course. I've just finished some community work that I'm doing through my day job. So there's loads and loads of stuff that's happening over the last few weeks. I finally got away to see some family, which is absolutely fantastic. And now it's kind of returning to regularly scheduled programming, which also means a little while ago, I sent out a tweet saying that I'd spent infinity million pounds on GOG.com for some season 2 lo-fi games. Those have now been properly purchased, as well as some others. So I'm now stocking up on some lo-fi gamings for some upcoming streams. So, and also I need to show you this. I got a beholder to sit on my desk, and the eye lights up.
Oh, very slick.
Get that.
Also, we're all frozen now, so we're just.
How cool is that?
That's pretty wild.
Anyway. Yeah, that's it. So I'm playing Silvo Janus Batulus, a half-elf aberrant mind sorcerer who has just gone up to level 3 and now has more magic, which probably just equates to a bigger headache for Silvo because he's still not quite sure how to use it yet.
We also have people screaming in chat, and by that I mean Pyron Jade, screaming in chat about showing the plush mimic.
Oh yeah, I'll grab the plush. My cats have decided to sit right next to my feet, so you'll need to bear with me. I may need to do a weird contortionist thing here, but let me just see if I can get the plush. I also got some D&D tarot cards as well, which are definitely getting framed
This is
in
awesome.
something.
Just everything you do, like, I've got this.
D&D plushie.
Charming.
I haven't thought of a name of him yet. Him or her, he or she. So that might be a competition I'll run at some point on my channel.
Mick Jagger, right? He just turned 79 today or something like that. So I figured like that's time. Which, let that sink in, by the way. Mick Jagger's like 78, 79. Anyway, awesome. Or Gene Simmons, there's a good one. Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Mike. Thank you very much, as always. You're going to be hearing more from Mike, by the way, in terms or specifically a creation of Mike very soon on my channel because of another intro video coming our way from the amazing Peripheral Mike and Mike Smith. So you will, Peripheral Media and Mike Smith. So you will see more from that in just a little bit. But thank you, Mike. Always a pleasure. Also a pleasure as well to have Ananda with us, even though I know that it's extremely cool and comfortable, right? Ananda, everything's fine. No problems at all. Everything is totally cool and no issues with weather at all. How are you doing, and who are you playing today?
I am melting. You will be able to gauge the heat by how slowly my makeup falls down my face. So that'll be fun going for chat to play whilst we're streaming. Yeah, the weather in the UK has been ridiculous. We're not built for it. I'm suffering. My poor cat is really suffering. She's very, very stressed out. But other than that, ticking along, thank you very much. I had a big stream a couple of weeks ago for my birthday, and due to lots of generosity, I now have a lot of bespoke streams to pay back. So I'm doing another reading stream on Friday on my channel. We're going to be reading Bram Stoker's Dracula, continuing on with it.
Nice.
I launched a Patreon at the beginning of the week as well,
Awesome.
which is a lot of reading. Finished my first book in there, which is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Very nice.
On my own channel today, I've started a new save on Darkest Dungeon on my own channel to include Crimson Court. So that's been interesting. And I'm playing through Dark Souls 3 on my channel as well at the moment. But yeah, ticking along, thank you. Rolling with the punches. And I really do apologize if I'm constantly mopping myself this evening, because it is not pleasant in here.
Oh my goodness.
However, this evening, completely maybe I'm just like cosplaying a little bit too literally about the water genasi natural state. I'm playing Brian the Bloodthirsty, who's a water genasi fighter. She's a try-hard. She's not the sharpest tool in the shed. However, she's very much like a team player. She is very much part of the crew, and will do anything for her teammates. And yeah, very, very glad that we managed to get everyone on the boat at the end of the last session.
It's true. It was a near thing at times. Wasn't sure that we would all get there, but we did. I am looking forward to seeing how Brian handles things as time goes on. Thank you, Nanda. Always a pleasure. And last but certainly not least, joining us again, and I think we may get him one more time, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll get two more times at least. And that is our good friend Fleos, who is with us. It is good to see you, Fleos. And we were talking about the state of various countries and how Canada is doing and all that. And we were involved in that conversation. Then we were like, all right, well, let's move on to more optimistic, upbeat matters like playing games. How are you doing, Fleos? How's life in the universe with you, and who are you playing in today's game?
Yeah, I was trying to think back on what I did in the last week, and honestly, there's just a big scene missing sign in my brain, so I'm not sure what's up with that. I haven't been feeling well, and so I've been kind of up and down, I guess. And so far in that conversation, of course, everyone in the Zoom call knows, but speaking to chat, I did misname my own prime minister. I called him by his father's name and didn't even notice. So that's how my day is going, I guess. Invoking a dead political leader. Yeah, so the weather has been nice here, though, so there's that. My house did have a little mini flood, though, so there's not that. It's been a weird week. but I did spend some adult money on kid games, so that helped me.
That
feel-
helps. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
It put me in a bit of a better mood. So today I am continuing to play as Oceanus, who is a sea elf that just recently reached level 3 as a warrior, which is a sidekick class in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, introduced in the Dragon of Ice Spire Peak, I think, starter pack, and then officially introduced with the Tasha's Cauldron. So it's interesting. It's a very simplified kind of class, and it's fantastic. It makes it really easy for someone like me who's only going to be here for a few sessions to just kind of pop in, and then Arv can take them over if need be without any much extra effort on part of the DM. So it's a cool little thing.
Yep, and it works really well, and I think it will work as a part of this, and Oceanus will be a part, as we will see, of Danger in Dunwater. But before we get to that part, I do want to ask, maybe I'll start with you, I'll work backwards. With Fleos, what has Oceanus gained at level 3? What cool new ability as level 3 sidekick do we have?
I'm actually pretty excited about this because he gets the ability, let's see, the official term for this is improved critical, which is something I've had since I played the 3rd edition of Dungeons and Dragons. What it is it doubles critical hit chance, so that not only on a 20 but on a 19 as well I get critical hits.
Yep,
which is pretty cool. And that's it. That's a simplified class. I get 1 bonus at level 3, which is usually like the big level, I feel like, in most classes.
Improved critical, it's true.
I get also 1 more hit die.
That's true. Which reminds me, we need to roll that. So you had to begin with how many hit points?
I have 30.
30. So now, if you are able to roll your hit die on screen for us, that would be lovely. So that you no longer have 30. You now have something which is not revealed because there we go. You
37.
Now have an extra 37 hit points, which, to be clear, is almost 3 times the number that Silvo had at level 2. I just want to be clear about where these things relatively sit. Okay, Oceanus with 37 hit points, and the power of level 3 compels you. All right, good stuff. Thank you, Fleos. Very much a pleasure as always. Also a pleasure to hear about what has happened to Brine. So Ananda, what cool new things have we received at level 3 for Brine?
At level 3, I also have improved critical, which I'm really excited about. In addition, as Water Genasi level 3, I have create or destroy water.
Nice.
And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I have an extra hit die. When I leveled up, it automatically rolled my hit points, but I can change them manually if you would like.
That's okay. What did you end up with?
34.
34. But you started at 25, right?
I can't remember. I thought it was 28, but I could be wrong.
I thought I had you at 25, but
you're probably I can't remember. So you're more accurate than me.
29 out of 29, we're gonna say. Yeah, and I should say, by the way, that we will start, although we're going to be talking about what happens after you get to the boat, we will start with you folks at your max hit points for this level once you've rolled them. So whatever that number is, that's where you're at. So we're going to have Brian then at 29 out of 29 hit points. And that looks good.
Mine's 34.
Oh, sorry, 34. What did I say? 29? My bad. 34 out of 34. Right. Okay. Cool. Right, so that is again 5 hit points less than 3 times Silvo. It's good. Okay, moving up to
is a measure.
Moving up to Silvo. Silvo, what happened? What cool things happened to you at level 3?
Well, I actually forgot about a couple of things that I got. So at level 3, I get to choose Meta Magic. And I have chosen, so just for anyone who doesn't know what Meta Magic is basically a way of using, sorcerer can use sorcery points to augment their spellcasting slightly. So what I have chosen please stand by, is extended spell, which basically means that I can spend a sorcery point and double a spell's duration up to a maximum of 24 hours, and quicken spell, which means I can spend 2 sorcery points, of which I have a maximum of 3 at the moment, which we refresh after a long rest, to change the casting time of a spell that takes 1 action to 1 bonus action. So quick fire spell casting.
Very useful.
I am also going to take, so I gain the spells Calm Emotions and Detect Thoughts because of my Aberrant Mind sorcerer's origin. And I'm taking the spell Nathir's Mischief, which can be found in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, page 20, for those of you wondering. I'm not going to tell you what the spell does because that's going to be part of the charm. And I'm also going to swap out a spell as well. So agreed with Arv, I'm going to swap out Shield, which is a 1st level spell, for Distort Value, which is an additional 1st level spell. This kind of leans a little bit into the fact that Silvo doesn't have quite as much of a grasp on some of his magic. So sometimes he might like forget how to do a spell, even though he's done it in the past. We did that with Shape Water. So he could Shape Water at one point, and now he can't, even though he tries. Like the water sort of wibbles a bit, but doesn't actually do anything. And I think that's everything apart from my hit dice. I get lots of spells, like I said, so more of a headache for Silver. So my hit dice is 1d6 plus my Constitution modifier, if that's correct.
That sounds right to me.
That does sound right, doesn't it? So let's go roll my hit dice. That was a good roll. I get 6 hit points.
Hey, all right. So you are now up to a dizzying 19 out of 19 hit points.
Goodness me.
Oh, yeah. One shots become considerably less likely.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
And now all of our enemies have dual attacks.
Exactly. You take 20 points. God damn it. All right. Okay, good stuff. I am excited to see how Silvo uses some of these new abilities. Speaking of a person who has a lot of new abilities, that leads us to Morthwill, who apparently now can do absolutely anything. I was assured that Morthwill can now actually do anything at all. Just, needs a special multi-tool and then can do everything. Like that's like, yes, slightly less likely he'll be one shot. That's true, Rudnell. Slightly less likely. All right, tell us, in order, please, on the spreadsheet, all of the new abilities Morthwill gets.
Well, first up, I gain a new artisan tool proficiency, taking me up to 9 tool proficiencies. I've chosen cartographer's tools now.
What are do you know just off the top of your head what all the tool proficiencies are that you have?
Well, yes, I have a list right here. Carpenter's tools, cartographer's tools, glassblower's tools, mason's tools, navigator's tools, smith's tools, thieves' tools, tinker's tools, woodcarver's tools, and I also have water vehicle proficiency.
I love the idea that you don't get these mixed up, right? So you have the glass blowing tools you don't want to mess up with the thieves' tools, and okay, that's a lot of tools.
And to tie into that, I now have the skill Right Tool for the Job, where after a long rest, I can actually craft any set of tools that I might want to make. Only once per long rest, though, and it can only be one set of tools. But if I happen to know what we might be heading in for, I can prepare ahead with the right tools for the job.
If you were stuck in a bilge hold, for example, and you needed something to get you out of that, you know what I'm saying? Yes, exactly. Everyone was talking about MacGyver before. Absolutely, Rudnell.
I have gained a new spell slot, and on top of that, I have also gained the Shield and Thunderwave spells, which counters always prepared and not against my prepared spell limit. So it gives me 6 prepared spells total. It can be very nice. I know you're a fan of the shield spell after your last stream of Solasta.
I am very much a fan of the shield spell, except when it's being used against me all the time. Oh, God, it's so annoying.
Then I think finally, and by no means least, the big ticket item, my Eldritch Cannon ability, where once per day for free, I can summon one of 3 Eldritch Cannons, which last for an hour. And in no particular order, and I'm not going to explain what these do, but I'm just going to give you the names. So I can summon the Protector, the Force Ballista, or the Flamethrower.
I wonder
I
what
summon it? I just summon it. Like, I just flamethrower. Like, what? I just...
It's on top of that, they do have a few little abilities. It can be handheld, or it can move around on legs. It's a bonus action to activate it. So... technically 2 attacks if I'm not using any other bonus attacks. that round. It can move, it can climb, or I can, like I say, I can just carry it under my arm. And at higher levels, it counts as half cover.
Very, very useful. Yes, that is pretty.
I may have to try and put a saddle on it.
Yeah.
Are you a space marine by any chance? That's what you're going to.
I'm going to need some serious flavor text on this. I just wanted you to know whenever this appears, like not just I have a flamethrower, like it appears, it descends from the heavens, it like like.
I have been thinking about how they will look. I'll just say that.
Okay, good. I was going to say yes, and exactly, Ridnell. You have to yell Iron Man before deploying. Awesome stuff. Okay, the only thing we have not done yet, I think, is hit points. So
right.
let's see what we got. Currently, Morthwheel has 16 out of 16. Can he surpass Silvo?
I hope so. I get 1d8 plus 2 plus 1 for my Dwarven Resilience.
Okay, that would make it, I think, impossible not to surpass him.
I got 10.
All right. So we're talking about 1d8 plus 2
26.
plus 1. So, all right, 26. Wow. All right. 26 out of 26 hit points. All right, good stuff. Lovely stuff. Always a pleasure to hear of Morthwheel's development. And last but certainly not least, we have Waves Crashing Against Rocks. What kind of awesome stuff has happened now that Waves is more than just a fledgling, as it were?
Well, so we're currently floating on that boat, and I imagine that during the night, while everybody was sleeping and under the stars, Waves finally took her Paladin Oath, which was the oath of the open sea that you can find on D&D Beyond if you want to read up on it. And that I have, it's a homebrew content but Arf has okayed it. So I'm now a Paladin of the open sea. And with that comes divine health, which means I'm immune to disease now, which I really like. Like, I'm not gonna get sick anymore. I really, really like that thought.
It's basically just the no scurvy thing. It's just like, I don't have any scurvy. Never any scurvy. I always have plenty of vitamin C, lots of oranges, no scurvy.
Yeah, yep, kind of that. And I also get 2 new spells with that, which are Create or Destroy Water, which I find... I really like that spell, so I'm not bummed out about it. I really like it. And Expeditious Retreat, so Waves is even faster than before. And of course, I can now also use Channel Divinity, which has for a Paladin of the Open Sea, can be 2 really, really cool things that I don't want to spoil if I don't have to.
Good stuff. Yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff that's popped up as a result. Yeah, I'm I'm very curious to see some of these abilities actually get rolled out. It'll be fun to see how they actually get used and applied. So the only thing we have not yet done, I think, unless you did it already, is hit points. So we were sitting at 26 hit points was your maximum before. Right now, Oceanus is sitting at 40, so it's going to be hard to overtake Oceanus. But you could overtake Brian. It's possible. It could happen. So
the maximum I could get would be 13 because I do a D10 plus 3.
Right. In which case you'd be 39. Yes, you would win.
Well, but it's very average. It's a 9.
A 9. I mean, still. So 9. We're looking at 35 out of 35. Lovely. Okay. Cool. So we have Brian at 34 out of 34. Morthwheel at 26 out of 26. Waves at 35 out of 35, Silvo at 19 out of 19, and Oceanus at 40. All right. Good stuff then. I am excited for all of this, and I'm going to fire up a little music. We're going to talk about what happened in our last adventure. We're going to do that just as soon as I actually... Oh,
Did our hit dice also refresh?
Yes, your hit dice also refreshed. I was just about to talk about that because you are now, it's been a couple of days is what I would say, although we are going to do a little bit of a flashback to see exactly what kind of things happened. Okay, that looks like it's right.
So as the spellcaster of the group, spell slots also?
Yes, and spell slots
Excellent.
also.
Oof, good.
Yep, spell slots also. All right, let's get some tavern music here. Okay. Okay. what am I? Oh, I'm getting the okay. I know what's happening. I am going to. Okay. Does that work? Now, can people hear? They cannot. Okay, lovely. So what happened was, I have to. All right, I got to reload. Let me just reconnect. Hold on a second. When my OBS reloaded, it also blew up my Firefox. So that's why that happened. Because my technical situation, they all hate me. Okay, we're going to rejoin as player. Just handhold the Roll20 through everything. Okay, thank you, Roll20. All right. So when we were last with our heroes, there was a very eventful series of events, of things that happened, actually, as the party had been sent to deal with the question of this smuggler group, or at least what might have turned out to be something going on at this house, which eventually, it was discovered in the sinister secret of Saltmarsh, was home to some smugglers who were running a smuggling operation with a ship called the Sea Ghost. The party had a lot of things they had to deal with, some of which are still going to be issues that will resonate throughout the campaign. For example, the wizard Sanballat, who still has a claim on Silvo. For example, some of the other creatures that were discovered that may have had an impact on all 4/5 of the characters here. So there was a lot of that went on. But the party went on to the Sea Ghost in an attempt to undercut the smuggling group, and managed to do so, although it was a little bit hairy in the process of actually doing it. They had their weapons taken away at one point, were thrown in the bilge hold, found Oceanus, managed to release him, managed to find that the lizard folk who had taken over the ship, then managed to figure out a way to deal with the lizard folk who were attempting to take the boat back to the marsh, their own home, and then at that point it wasn't clear what they were going to do, but it seemed like it might involve invasion of Saltmarsh, not 100% clear. And so in the end, the party had to sink the boat, and did so successfully. It was a very narrow escape for everybody concerned, but they did manage to sink the boat. They did manage to wipe out some of the lizard folk that had been attacking them, although not all. Of course, it means that the pirates who were on board the ship probably expired, but they kind of sort of probably deserved it, I think it's fair to say. And they were left, the party was left, not with the Sea Ghost, but with a rowboat, basically, which they were using to row to the land. So I'm going to fast forward us in a few moments here, but first, I want to ask the party about what the party would have done when they had gotten back to shore, because of course, excuse me, they were supposed to report things to Anders Salmar, who is the technically the head of the town council of Saltmarsh, and basically explain what had happened to him and explain what happened more generally to the town council. But they also could have done a bunch of other stuff before they even got to that point if they wished, once they actually returned to shore. One of those things definitely involved a full rest and rejuvenation of all hit points and hit dice. So that's why, and spell slots and so on. So that stuff has now been done. But the question is, what exactly things looked like when they first reached to shore? Because what I will tell the party is that they are going to be, they have been summoned to a meeting of the town council based upon some of the information that they have provided. But I want to know, flashing back now, how they provided that information. Did you go to a temple and talk to people about it? Did you spread it on the streets? Did you talk to Anders Solmore's butler, Scarin Wave Chaser, to see whether or not, and just talk to him? How did the party manage all of this? And or is there anything that you wanted to do on shore that I have not covered, which you were like, I also totally would want to do XYZ, whatever that happened to be?
So I thought that Scarin Wave Chaser was our main contact. So we've never actually, as to my knowledge, we've never actually met Anders
Correct.
Solmar.
You have not met Anders Solmar yet. That's right.
So we don't know who that is.
So that is the actual, well, Scarin Wave Chaser is supposedly his servant, basically his butler, if you will.
Yes.
And it's true.
He's the one that gave us the task, right?
That's right.
Going and stopping the ship.
That's right.
Or stopping the smuggling operation.
That's right.
Yeah. which I think we've successfully done in a roundabout way.
Seems likely, at least part of it.
Mission failed successfully. So I don't know if we've specifically gone. I think that's a party decision. We've specifically gone to Scarabway Chaser. That sounds like something we do. I'm just not sure how we would do it if we just got back on shore and be like, "Where is he? Quick, we need to tell him what's happened." You will not believe what happened.
Right, and that's what I guess was wondering, was whether you would go directly to sort of report things to Andrew Solmore, and I suppose introduce him to Oceanus, whether you would do that, or whether you would, I don't know, lay low for a few days, or just you tell me in terms of what you all wanted to do.
Morthor would definitely been in favor of reporting to the authorities at this point with the information that they have, because there may still be a lizard invasion incoming, as far as we know. We may have just delayed rather than stopped.
That's fair enough.
Waze would also try to get the party to like get on land, sleep, get a good night of sleep at the temple, and then report to the authorities.
Okay.
Oceanus would look at his loincloth and, maybe look toward the warriors of the group, do you have any extra armor? Do you have any extra clothes? Something to wear? It's right there.
I would definitely be able, given I know many merchants within Saltmarsh, I'd definitely be able to get him some very budget clothes. Maybe not armor, but I'd be able to get him something other than a loincloth.
Okay.
Great. Showing up at a temple with a trident and a loincloth maybe isn't the best option.
It depends on the temple, I suppose.
That's true.
I'm not sure Waves is aware that this is a problem, so she would still try to get to the temple.
I think Silver would probably just stick with the party. There'd be a couple of things which we can address now or in a bit. There'd be a couple of Silver-esque things that he'd want to do, but like informing the authorities, where he would be on board with that.
How about Brian?
Brian would be all for going to the temple, having a long rest, because Oceanus, I think we managed to give him a bit of stale food on the boat, but other than that, he's fairly emaciated and practically naked, so possibly needs some assistance there. But what I would like to do on the route to the temple, assuming that's what we've agreed that we want to do. I was just looking back on my notes as to how I worded it to myself. A lot of the populace were walking around, eating a strange fruit and acting a little bit strangely. There was some strange activity near a bridge. So what I'd like to do is just be incredibly observant as we're kind of meandering towards the temple.
Okay. All right, that sounds reasonable. And I will say, hold on a second as I get my notes. There we go. I will say that as you went to the temple, you arrived at a time, fortunately, where there were not that many people around, but as you pass people on the streets, they do look particularly curiously at Oceanus, I would say. The rest of you, they may have seen some version of you before, although they're, you're still not world famous in the town, so to speak. And so there are a couple of people who might look askance at a water genasi, or might look a little bit at waves or something like that. But for the most part, that's not a big deal. But Oceanus definitely would have been. And the ones who do pass you were kind of like, as they go by, very much trying to get a sense of who Oceanus is. Other than that, though, the temple itself is pretty well unoccupied, and you were able to get some assistance, basically, as you go through to be able to get some information from the person running the temple, and to also get some healing as well. Also, there is some food, so you are able to give Oceanus a little bit of that as well. So it is probably, I would say, it's probably about mid-afternoon or so. So it's probably only a few hours. It's probably a few hours later. Not actually, I shouldn't say that. It's the next day. So the next day, the word probably will have spread enough that you all are back in town. And you are woken by someone who is knocking on the temple door, and then comes in to where you have had a chance to be fully rested and feeling sort of comfortable about whatever may or may not happen next. And it is Scaran Wave Chaser. And he comes in and bows to all of you and says, I understand that you have accomplished a great deal in removing the threat of the smuggling operation, or so it seems. I would like to know some of the details, and then I have a proposition for you, one which comes from my own master.
I think we might have delayed them rather than scuppered them completely. Who's to know if they have another ship? There are more problems than sinking one boat will deal with. What's happened in town in our absence?
Mostly concern, that is to say, people who are concerned about a growing threat. In fact, that is what I have been sent to brought you to the council to speak about. But I am unsure, what do you mean by they? Did some of them escape? You mean smugglers and so on?
I can pretty much guarantee that none of the smugglers who were initially on board the ship have escaped. However, they were not the only threat. Maybe the town has gained a threat from the smugglers' treatment of. Do we know the name of the lizard creatures? I don't want to just call them lizard creatures.
Just the lizard folk is what they would be called.
Lizard folk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We encountered some lizard folk who we believe were captured. They were not particularly amenable to being led to believe that Saltmarsh wasn't at least partially responsible.
Lizard folk. And you can see that Anders looks, for him, because he's always usually pretty calm and, collected, he looks pretty concerned. And he actually says, it is disturbing. One of the reasons that I was sent to get you was because of a very similar threat. In any case, it is good that you managed to at least thwart one of the smuggling operation that you did. I understand that the boat has been sunk as well.
The boat has indeed been sunk.
Well, it would have been interesting to see what it possessed on it, but it is good news to be sure that we will not have to worry about any attacks again from that quarter. As for the rest of the smugglers, we will have to see what we can do. Perhaps sending a patrol directly to the house might be of help. But in the meantime, you did what you were asked to do, and for that I am exceedingly grateful. And of course, my master even more so. It is he, in fact, who sent me this morning to bring you to talk to the council. The threat that you refer to may be related to this one.
I believe we were offered a reward for this work.
And he nods and he says, yes, I believe that is correct. And I believe that you would be, capable, let us say, of receiving some of these things. And he, so he pauses and then reaches into his pouch and pulls forth, hang on one second. Okay. And then pulls forth a bag which has in it some jingling coins. And, at least you think it is. It's certainly what it sounds like. And he jingles the bag and then pulls out a series of coins. And he counts out 10 gold pieces for each of you. Except for Oceanus, which he kind of like, who is this?
This is our dear friend Oceanus, who we rescued from the smugglers and was instrumental in helping us scupper the boat and also that chain of the smuggling operation. So I make sort of a give him some money motion.
And he says, I see. I have not had many dealings with sea elves before. But of course, if you were partially responsible, then you should be rewarded for it. So he takes out the coins and counts out 10 for each of you, including Oceanus, and then hands it off to you all individually. And he says, this, of course, is only a small down payment. the more work that you're able to do to make Saltmarsh safe, the better it will be for you in the end financially as well.
I believe that the number of gold pieces for this mission that were offered was 200.
And he sort of pauses and...
To be a little short.
He pauses and rubs his chin and he says, "True. I suppose I had said 50 per person. Although, obviously, I won't be able to split that quite as evenly now." And he counts out the rest of the coins in question. 200. He does not add another additional 50 for Oceanus, so you get the impression that you might have to do that on your own.
So we're just like, why didn't I remember that?
And he says, "Well, I hope that is acceptable. But the council meeting itself will take place not long from now, and indeed, your presence is requested. If you wish, and you're willing to do so, coming now or at least within the next few minutes would be helpful."
Are you aware of what is going to be discussed at the town council meeting?
It is regarding a threat which is facing the town. A threat which your findings may have made even worse. So, it is a threat that I do not feel talking more about in public.
When is this meeting?
And he says, happening in about 10 to 15 minutes or so.
And whereabouts is it?
And he points on the map to where it is. The spot actually is in the town council hall. So basically there's a town hall there. And I think I actually have... Let's see if I do. Oh, wrong map. Okay. There's that. Okay. So it will be, yeah, it's going to be in the town hall. And the town hall... It's not that. Town hall is... Show me town hall. Okay. Yeah, the council hall, which is 14. Okay. So it's actually not that far from the tavern that you've all been hanging out about a lot at. And that's right there. Actually, I need to bring you over to the map. You're like, what are you talking about? Sorry, my bad. There you go.
It's a very zoomed out view.
There we go. So right there, this area right here is the council hall.
And the building right next to it is the snapping line, yeah?
That's right.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to look to the others to gauge a reaction.
We can't rightly ignore a threat. We've already gone this far.
Was there anything strange that we noticed, or that I noticed on the walk to the temple?
Only in the absence of things that are no longer there. The people that were walking around strangely, or rather eating the strange fruit and all that kind of stuff, you don't see any of that right now, and you're not sure why, Brian, unless they addressed it, or unless there was some problem, or you're not sure why. But you did not notice anything that you had previously seen as being kind of odd in the town at the moment.
That was like a political parade or rally, wasn't it?
It was related to that. That's right.
Yeah. It was like a sort of festival day to kind of boost people's spirits in the name of a politician, presumably.
That's right.
One that was having the shield made for him.
Yes, whose name temporarily escapes me, but
I'm trying to look back at my notes.
Was it Gellin Primewater, or was Gellin Primewater? I mean, Gellin Primewater has other things, but I don't know if he was trying to commission that.
I think it was Gellin Primewater.
Okay.
I remember getting Primewater and Wave Chaser mixed up quite a lot.
Okay. Yeah, Gellin Primewater.
Okay.
I really should have put the Trello board.
We did find a lot of swords on the ship, right? I remember that one of you was looking into some kind of compartment or something, but it was when we were all running around separately.
That would have been Morthwell.
Did Morthwell communicate that to everybody else? Or rather, has Morthwell?
We had time on the boat to discuss such things, I imagine,
Yeah,
between complaining about being soaking wet.
Okay. Yeah, true. So soaking wet and freezing cold. Okay. Are we mentioning that now in front of Wave Chaser?
Morthwell's got no reason not to. He's probably he would have conveyed all the information.
Okay. And so when you mention that, then when you talk about the fact that there are these weapons, he shakes his head and looks very serious and says, "This is unfortunately in line with some of what we have heard. It's very dangerous. This is the sort of thing which needs to be brought to Anders as soon as possible."
Aye, the shield with the lizard head on it as well hints that someone's collaborating with them. This was no lizard flight of fancy.
And he nods and he says, "Exactly. And that person must be rooted out. If there's someone who's actually someone who's perhaps provoking or in some ways egging on the lizard folk to do this kind of work, it means that we could all be in very real danger."
But we think, that the lizard folk was also like slaves on the ship, right?
Right. At least that was the theory, yeah.
Yeah, we believe they
necessarily confirm that.
They were indentured servitude.
We think so, yes.
Yeah.
They were definitely happy to take over.
Yes, absolutely. They were happy to take over and not happy to have those pirates in charge. So,
but they were already not in the prison room in the bilge where we were when we were thrown in there.
That's true.
Yeah, no, they weren't. So they weren't prisoners, but that doesn't mean they weren't.
During the fight with the pirates, someone did yell, "Fetch the lizards."
Yeah, so they were probably muscle for the smugglers, but probably like, do this or we'll burn your house down or something, you know.
So, because for some reason I thought the swords were for the lizards in some way, but maybe not.
Well, there was the lizard head
been.
shield, which heavily suggests it was some sort of gift, maybe.
So just trying to. I'm tired.
That depends. I suppose. No, that's cool. That also depends on lizard person society as well. Like, is this a case of the smugglers were trading weapons and goods to higher up lizard people for service of lower level lizard people? You know, were they the slaves that were being traded? You know, we're talking about this slave trade that might have been going on, and we assume that it's going to be, you know, kind of normal humanoid creatures. But what if it was the lizard folk that are being traded for some reason? Or what if the lizard folk are being outfitted as a hit squad for something, you know, to destroy Saltmarsh or destroy somewhere else? We don't.
What would their reason be? What would their reason be to turn on the crew? That's what I don't get.
They saw an opportunity to get their own ship.
The crew
sound familiar.
I see a certain appeal in ships. I'm not gonna lie about that.
If you're sort of if that's the situation and you're traded for goods, like, and they don't treat you well, you know, you're going to take the first chance you can get.
Maybe they were traded for goods, but also like, hey, and if you got the chance, get all the goods and the ship for us.
Possibly. I don't know much about. I mean, Silvo and myself don't know much about lizard folk society and hierarchy, so we don't. As far as Silvo's aware, they're just kind of beasts, if that makes sense. They're a bit rowdy, they're a bit savage.
Hello?
They're a bit. Well, I don't know anything about Kenkus either, so.
Well, you're judging a lizard by its scales right now.
Yeah, no, he absolutely is, but he has no frame of reference to it. He sees a kind of barbaric society with a rough kind of pecking order, no pun intended, with a rough pecking order, but he doesn't know, is there an intricacy to that society? Is there a hierarchy? Is there a monarchy? Is there absolute power that they derive orders from? You know, is this power good? Is this power evil? Who knows?
If you're asking that as far as like, I would say you can make a nature check for me, Silvo, let's say, and see what information we get from that.
This is not going to be good information. 17. That's actually better than I thought.
Yeah, so the thing that you know is that there has been a lizard folk community, a lizard folk tribe, which has lived in and around Saltmarsh, not that far from it for some time. But they don't normally come into contact with the so-called humanoid races, the residents of Saltmarsh. And there have certainly been times where there have been battles between the lizard folk and the humanoid residents of Saltmarsh, but that has not been a sort of like constant refrain, and you don't remember any like new threats for a while. As far as what they do, they sort of keep to themselves quite a bit, so you don't actually know what the power structure looks like in the lizard folk colony as we speak.
So yeah, so we don't know who might be pulling the strings, so to speak. The lizard folk could be victims, or they could just be, the lizard folk that we met could be a smaller part of something greater.
We need to find out more information. I think that's where we are. Is the what's his face? What's some of that? Anders is he here still, or has he gone back?
So if you ask that to Scarin, Scarin would say that Anders awaits you at the council hall.
So we've still not actually met Anders Solomon?
Not yet.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Apparently you're going to meet him today, apparently.
Yeah, so. No, that's fine. I thought he was here. I didn't understand.
No.
Okay, well, I'm going to look over at Oceanus to gauge his reaction.
I'm assuming the conversation was in common, so Oceanus actually has no idea what was going on. It's just been smiling politely and kind of nodding. And
excellent point. And Silver will definitely, having said that little spiel about lizard folk, will definitely not be sort of translating everything.
Mm-hmm.
But he's amenable for pretty much anything. He just got his life saved by you guys, and he's ready to help while he can. And also has, the mission to discover what's going on with the smuggling operation and see where it goes from there.
Mm-hmm.
Waves is willing to go to the town council in hope of more gold.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stamp up. I will step up next to Scaran Wave Chaser, sort of fold my arms and go, well, it'll cost you.
And he kind of raises an eyebrow and he says, it'll cost me for you to go to this meeting?
Whatever you want us involved in. I mean, we're not in direct employment. We're more what you would call contracted employees at this point, right?
He nods slowly and he says, yes. Well, in that case, I can tell you that almost certainly my master will have something for you. In fact, he told me to come and bring you specially he said the 4 of you. I don't think he knew about the 5th one. But he told me to have you all come. And presumably that means that there will be some kind of monetary recompense at the end of all this.
I'll look over to Waves.
I adjust my head and make my feather look pretty.
Can I tell if I think he's being honest or not?
Sure. Make an insight check for me, please.
Okay.
Let's find out if you do.
I love the fact that me and Waves is just like, yes, mention gold, we're in.
Insight. I'm not very... Was 16?
Yeah, you get the impression he may not be telling you everything, Brian. There may be some things that he's leaving out, but it's unclear if the reason that he's leaving that out is simply because he's trying to summarize all of the stuff going on and kind of put together an easy bite-sized package, if you know what I mean. But you don't get the impression that he's deliberately intending to lie to you from what you can tell.
Okay. I am going to ask him, tell us, is there anything untoward that we might not be expecting at the town meeting?
And he thinks that through and says, not that I can imagine, at least not yet. The council, though, is restless, and I have a feeling the factions on the council will be interested in speaking to you. You've already had a run-in, of course, you know, with some of them. Something of the loyalist versus the traditionalist battle, remember. Well, both factions are represented on the council. There is, of course, uncertainty right now over the ultimate fate of Gellin Primewater, who has been accused of perhaps being involved in helping imprison people up at the house that you looked at. But as yet, that has not been put on the front burner. So, at the moment, he remains an official.
I believe we found very little evidence to corroborate that besides
the confession of a known criminal.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
Yeah, so would I. To just say, I think I've met one of the other council members before, haven't I? The dwarven lady who offered me work.
Yes.
Yes, I thought so.
That's right.
Okay. Well.
Can I sidle up to Morthwill and kind of not obviously say I want to speak to you over here, but kind of like sidle away a little bit, maybe out of earshot, and say, is it worth asking before we go to the town meeting about what was happening with the Dwarven Forge before we headed out on our quest? We never did get any answers.
Aye, that and the miners as well. They were asking for us to look into something for him. Could be related. I mean, someone had to forge that weaponry. So I'll go over to, hang on, flipping names. I've got, yes, Solmar. There we go. So we'll go back over to Anders. No, Wave Chaser.
Wave Chaser, I was going to say, like...
Yeah, Wave Chaser. I need to separate these out. They're all next to each other.
Yeah, I've written them the wrong way round.
Yep, Scarron is the servant, Anders is the guy.
Before we left, I was asked if I might look into what was going on with the local Dwarven Forge, and on top of that, some local Dwarven miners hinted that there may be some trouble coming. Has there been any news about that? Because someone had to have forged that weaponry. Now, it didn't necessarily come from here, but local made is easier to transport.
And he nods and he says, it is quite possible that there's something going on, but we have not been able to track it down as of yet. As far as I understand, the council is still considering different things, and concerns about this threat that I mentioned may have driven some of these other aspects from their mind. But certainly, those things are still being considered.
Aye, well, had to be what it is, I suppose. Muddied waters will clear in time.
I look round to the others and say, I think we need to go to this meeting, but maybe with a little caution.
Oh, me with nothing but exactly the same clothes to wear.
At least you got your money to buy some more clothes now, eh?
Oceanus is going to borrow the temple bathrobe for now. He'll give it back, but
it has the logo on it, right? You know, like the
yeah, exactly. Embossed
it's so
logo.
squishy, yeah.
Okay. So, that being the case, all of you then head along to the council hall, and I have placed, I've mentioned right here is where you can actually
Can I ask a quick question? Sorry.
Right there, yes. Actually, before I answer that question, one quick point to, because I think Waves had asked about the boat. You can see it right there on the map. No, I'm kidding. You do have your little boat, which is up against a dock, but it is...
you made me look.
Well, right now, I was joking and saying it was this. But you do actually have your boat, but again, it is not a very big boat. It is a long boat for a ship, so room for maybe
like
6 people. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's better. It's more boat than I had before.
It's true.
So
100%
In a place where 0 boat, this is greater than 0 boat.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
indeed greater than 0 boat.
I mean, maybe we can trade up. We're gonna see, but at least we have this, and that's already nice. So
There we go.
just wanted to say that it's not broken. We still have it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's absolutely right.
Good.
Yes, you do. Okay, Silvo, sorry, you were going to ask me.
Yeah, I was just wondering the timeline of this. Is this happening immediately after we get back, like the night after? Because you said
Not-
like,
yeah, I would-
what are we doing in the meantime? Because Silver wanted to do a couple of errands.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
that can happen after this if that needs to.
It would be the next day, so you would have gotten pretty much a full rest and healing situation from the temple. So not immediately, but like the next day.
Yeah, there's a couple of long rest related things that I'd like to do, but timeline wise, it'd make more sense to be doing it after the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just, if the DM is okay with me fudging the timeline on when I do a long rest action
That's okay
a bit.
That's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's okay.
Cool.
Okay, assuming that everyone is cool with that, then we are going to have you go over to the council. So when you arrive at the council hall, and I've mentioned a little bit about what this thing looks like. Couple things to note. First of all, of course, Morthwill, I don't know that you've ever been inside the council hall. Actually, Morthwill can tell me. Have you ever been inside the council hall?
I may have been contracted to do some repair work for the odd job now and again.
Okay, so you know probably a little bit about it, and obviously Silvo only knows it from the outside. But for Waves and Brine and Oceanus, this is a large brick building. And when you arrive, there is right outside, it's built from stone and hardwood, and there is a wooden sign which depicts a net filled with fish that hangs above the double doors leading into the hall. It's basically the town crest, if you will, the Saltmarsh town crest. And there is a small tower rising from the building, housing a horn at the top. And as you were going into the front doors, the horn goes boop, boop, and kind of echoes out. No, just kidding. It doesn't do all that. It just does the thing. So you hear that, which you know, Morthwill and Silvo, is the beginning of a council session. So it's kind of a significant event, and that's why is the situation that's there. Right in front of the hall, there is a sturdy but weather-beaten platform and a gallows in front of the hall for use in the event of an execution. These are very rare, but they can on occasion happen. Very popular with the town crowd, whenever those happen. But at the moment, that stuff just stands empty and silent as you pass into the council hall. As you make your way into the council hall and then Anders leads you upwards, one of the things you notice is there are certainly, some guards to be found and so on. But you can notice a great deal of kind of tension, I guess, that you might say has been associated with this building. The guards seem to be a little bit on edge. People just seem to be kind of, prepared, ready for something, although it's not clear as to what. As you move up the stairs and then are ushered into the council hall, you get that feeling as well from the people who are in the room itself. Now, there are a fair number of people within this council, which is comprised of a number of leading citizens and merchants and kind of honored citizens and people like that that are part of the mix. But at the front of the table, this basically long oval table, you can see there is a slight man with kind of a sharp pointed chin and this kind of a big smile, dark hair slicked back into a ponytail. And when you come in, he rises from his chair and he says, finally, the people that we have been expecting. I'm glad you were able to bring them, Anders. And I think it is time that the rest of us get started. And the people who've been talking to each other all sort of, and kind of settle down. And as Anders calls the meeting to order, as he says, I am Anders Solomon, and I am the head, if you will, of this council of Saltmarsh. And I understand that it is you we have to thank for some of the information that we've received about the smuggling operation near here. Thank you. I don't know that we could have done it without all of you. And he kind of looks around. All of you, and he sees you, Oceanus, who's like, and you are...
I look like toward my compatriots.
Yep.
To Oceanus.
This is Oceanus.
Oceanus.
This is Oceanus. He was aboard the vessel that we were sent to investigate and not treated very well.
And he nods and he says, I think a sea elf, yes?
Mm.
And he says...
He's not common with our language, though, so any specific questions can go through one of us who can communicate with him.
Ah,
But
I
he's
see.
happy to be here and happy to help.
I see. Well, we could use all the help we could get, if there's any truth to be suggested in it. At this point, one of the other ones sitting at the council table kind of looks around and grunts. And you can see it is a dapper, sort of older gentleman with a neatly trimmed beard and a very fancy wardrobe. He's currently wearing a green, sort of a green silk tunic, very expensive looking. And he rises from his table and he says, "Never mind, Solmore. You know that the only reason that these people are here is because there's been the issue of potentially causing trouble, as we've already seen. Now, you recognize this as Gellin Primewater, because you may have seen him, remember, on the dock of the building when he was basically supervising. You might remember boats coming in and stuff like that. So you've actually seen him before, but you've never met him face to face. And he looks now and says, and I believe the time has come for us to discover exactly what these people are intending to do with our town." And so Anders kind of looks over at him and then looks back and says, "I don't really understand what the problem is. We are bringing them in. We know something of what they are because they've done some work for us before." And Gellin says, "Work for you before, you mean, Anders. There is a difference between those things. You and the council, I mean." And a couple of other council members kind of look at each other and then wait. And Anders kind of, "Well, Gellin, I'm happy to give you that extra information, but you would think that someone who himself has been brought up on, well, charges of a certain nature would be careful about accusing other innocent civilians." And Gellin kind of reddens and is like, "That buffoon that you're speaking of is a liar and a cheat, and he'll be proven to be such when we're done. In the meantime, I wouldn't use rumor or conjecture as an example for your argument." And Anders smiles broadly. You can see he has a very toothy grin. And he says, "Certainly, I would never plan to actually do anything without finding evidence." And then he swivels back to all of you. "And I believe you have some evidence." And he said, "You do have some evidence about these smugglers, do you not? Because we think that there is something which may tie in to a larger thread." And he says that generally to all of you, so.
Do we have some evidence? Do we?
Isn't it a good time to bring out the sexy book?
There's some evidence at the bottom of the sea.
Well, there's
We
that
can
evidence
we can
for
tell
sure.
them what we know.
Yeah.
About the lizard men and the swords. We can tell them that.
We have our
What-
personal accounts of the situation.
We have the Book of Tide Times, a book on an evil demigod, the dictionary sheet with simple commands in an unknown language, a book of navigation, legality of letters of marque. Nothing I'd call evidence, though. That's just what I've got on me.
Thought you had a shipping manifest, didn't you?
Someone did, but it wasn't me who picked that up.
I didn't pick up a shipping manifest. I did pick up a map. But I don't know if there was anything marked
Wait.
on the map other than...
Where was the shipping manifest? Because I took some stuff from the bosun's quarters.
Right, and that's where it would have been,
And
Silvo. So.
Waves has been forging a lot of stuff.
Well,
Yes.
Well, duplicating, sorry.
we have evidence. Here's this forged evidence we just made ourselves.
No, not that copy. this
I
copy.
duplicated the lantern signal thing.
Yeah, that's true. You
That
duplicate
was
one.
what I duplicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do have pieces of paper from the bosun's quarters, and a short sword as well, which I never bothered to mention when I was being attacked by lizardmen.
Okay. So how do you want to tie it together? Like, in other words, I guess what I'm asking all of you to think of is, what is your theory of the case? Because you talked about a little bit of this already, actually, this session, about what you think actually happened. Like what were these smugglers doing? This is a time for you as a group to be like, we think this is what's happening, basically. And the council all is like very interested. And I should point out, by the way, just one last thing. I'm sorry. When Gellin speaks, you notice there's obviously a little bit of tension between Gellin and Anders, but there's also some tension just in general. This is not a huge council, about 8 to 10 people, but you can tell that some of them are, one of them, you're pretty confident, Morthwill, that one of them looks like the head of the Artificers Guild, and that's one of the council members. But you know as well that there is a lot of tension that happens between the loyalists, and the traditionalists on the council, and then there's some who are kind of theoretically independent. That's probably Anders, maybe. And Anders has had a little bit of popularity. He's almost kind of like a folk hero because of the way that he comes across to people. But still, there are a lot of different factions that, sort of hold together-ish during the best of times, but there's definitely a little bit of tension here that you notice when either Anders or Gellin is speaking for different reasons. So now I'll shut up and you can tell me which one is it.
What can I assume I will have looked at this manifest? Instead of just going like, oh wait, no, I've got this big piece of paper that I took from the boat.
Yeah, I would assume that you could have. I mean, I would guess that you would have done that.
Excellent. When I did this, what did I see?
So the shipping manifest had a list of items, most of which correspond to some of the, I believe it was weapons that Morthwill might have seen on the deck. So there was, and I know that I remember Morthwill telling Silvo and some of the others that he had seen this. There are a bunch of manifests about like 100 short swords, 100 tridents, like basically rattling off this stuff, and suits of armor. All of it is related to military conflict of some kind or another. Armor, shields, swords, spears, knives,
was that
daggers.
What was said on the manifest? Did it say anything about what else was in the hold? Because we passed tons of barrels and stuff, didn't we?
That's right. And some of the barrels were referred to as like basically poison symbols and or explosives.
Right. Okay.
Were there any, apart from it just being a map, were there any markings or references actually drawn or written on the map?
On the map, I'm trying to remember, where was this map that you found?
It was, honestly, I can't remember, but it was where we were
pointed at.
Yeah, it was. We were.
Oh, yes, that's right.
All
Sorry.
at it.
Yes, that map. That was an external map. That's actually the map that we were just on. Let me bring it back there for just a second. Saltmarsh and the environs. That's this one. And it was a map which was found, as I try to get over there, that had a couple of areas highlighted. One area was up here, basically right around that spot, where there was basically a lizard's head, more or less there. And then there were some other strange symbols. There was another marking here, way up here, right at this little inlet. And then the last thing is there was a marking here, which was Saltmarsh. And there was a lot of pointing by the lizard folk at this, followed by pointing at this, at Saltmarsh. And you were allegedly heading, according to, if you kind of processed all of it, to this, which from what you gathered, this was probably the lizard folk lair. You definitely know that this is obviously Saltmarsh. You don't know what this is.
Third location.
If this one, you don't know what that was a reference to.
Okay.
And the only thing that was marked there was just a sort of a strange, almost like a rune of some kind, but it doesn't translate to anything that you know specifically.
Okay. As I didn't know if there were things actually marked on the map as opposed to the communication that was happening between the lizard folk, because during that conversation, I think I correctly assumed that they were planning on bringing lizard folk to attack Saltmarsh from what he was saying. And this map does not necessarily confirm that, but it does compound the issue because
Right.
the lizard folk didn't mark their location on the map.
Although, one thing though, Brian, they do, theoretically they marked it because here is where they had marked like this lizard head, which you assumed was their lair. And just the only other correction I wanted, or clarification I wanted to make was, it is true that they pointed at this and then pointed at this, but it was not clear what that meant. Kind of the impression that you got from them was like, they must be meaning to invade, but you can't honestly say that they were like, like that was, you're not 100% sure about that.
We're reasonably certain because they put a big circle around it and an X through it.
They did. Yeah, they did put a circle and an X around it. That's true. Yes.
Yeah. So we don't know what that means to them, but to us, we've inferred that means, oh no, and they were laughing and sort of went, big X. So we assume, because we couldn't communicate with them, that means potentially something violent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there a table somewhere?
Yes, a big table. In fact, they're all sitting around it.
Cool. I'm going to walk up to the table with as much confidence as a terrified teenage elf can in a room full of stuffy middle-aged politicians.
Okay.
And I'm going to
except for Anders, who's a young and strapping lad.
Young and hip and cool. Yeah.
Yes.
An old cool Anders. That basis on his seat backwards and everything. So, fellow politicians, I'm going to lay the manifest out. And I'm going to say we have some paperwork that we've found in nefarious places based on the work that we have done, and we have our own personal accounts of what's happened, of which we'd delight in telling you all about them if you were to hear them.
And so there's a sort of slow nod, and Anders sits down and says, "Please, we would like to know the information that you have. It will obviously guide the decision that we make next." And Scare and Wave Chaser, by the way, has now stood up against a wall, just kind of standing because he doesn't have a seat, obviously, and he's just watching.
I see. I'm going to look over to Brian, who has the map.
I'm going to walk forward and just, I'm going to put a hand, encouragingly, on Silvo's back, and I'm going to put the map down alongside the manifest. So I'm going to support him talking through this, and I will kind of help where I can.
Okay.
Can I use my cartographer's proficiency to assist with the explanation?
Excellent.
Yes, but tell me what exactly, because typically a cartographer's, would mean that you were actually making a map. So,
what about navigator's proficiency?
Depends on what you're doing with it.
to try and explain what the symbols are generally used for in
are likely to mean.
most
Okay.
usual maps.
Okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
Well, this symbol usually means to denote dangerous currents and the like, and this one means shallow channels and etc. etc.
Okay, that's fair enough. You can absolutely do that. And of course, Oceanus knows about some of the, you don't know the map specifically, but you know your area of the map, Oceanus, which is in the ocean. And so you know about those things as opposed to the sort of land, formations, which you're not as familiar with, but you certainly know the sea part of it.
I would also like to try and get at least one good look at all of the papers, just in case we never get them back.
Okay. You can absolutely do that.
I assume we're all sort of like Dragon's Den style. Like everyone's sort of sat around the other side of the table, but we're stood up in front of it.
Yep.
So when the house with the smugglers commanded by Sambalat was here, the boat came up here at a signal. We boarded the boat here.
I'm going around as you're doing
the
that.
Hold of this ship.
You boarded the boat here. Okay, keep going.
We cunningly infiltrated the hold of this ship, and while biding our time for the right moment, some lizard people who were also guests of these people decided the time came for a change in management, it appears. At which point they discovered us and press-ganged us into service, as it were.
Council members are listening.
That's a good way of putting it. It's also important to note that here, and I'm pointing where Morthwell pointed at the abandoned house, this is where we also found your guest of your prison, Mr. Shakeshaft, and I just glance over to Gellum Prime Water.
Who looks like he swallowed a lemon.
Who had some very interesting tales to tell, of which I'm certain truths or lies will come out in the end. But as my very experienced dwarven colleague would say, we were forcibly encouraged to take on board the role of crewmates to the lizard folk as we traveled towards what we believed to be their home. And I believe it was my pirate friend here, who my previous captain friend here, who knew how to get the boat going, and also saw them looking quite intently at this map. Now, we're not 100% sure what their intent was. We don't think it was good. So we tried to get off of the ship. I'd say, some stuff happened, and we probably needed to part ways quite quickly. But we don't need to get into too many details about why that happened. But basically,
hidden
we
compartments. Well, don't forget, in
Yeah.
hidden compartments on said ship, we found our new friend Oceanus here, as
did.
well as a veritable army's worth of hidden weapons, including a particularly fancy shield with the head of some important lizard folk on it. It was certainly a cut above your usual vendor trash. I have the eye for such things, as most of you are probably aware.
Oh yes, he's very good at that.
There's a couple of murmurs at that, especially when you talk about weapons, and a couple of the council members look at each other and nod. And when you're talking
I just
about...
roll out the manifest at this point.
and when you're like... Yeah. And when you're talking about Oceanus, you also note some people looking with some... Maybe trepidation isn't the right word, but you get the sense that there is some concern from some of them, or at least they kind of look at Oceanus a couple times and whisper. And then one of them, who Morthwell you may recognize as one of the traditionalists, says, "Are we certain that it's a good thing to have a sea elf here in the Saltmarsh Council? Do we know for certain that such a person can be trusted? It's possible his loyalties are with the sea more than the land."
Perhaps you'd have felt more comfortable if we'd brought the lizard men?
And the other one sort of looks at you and kind of glares and says, "None of your cheek, Morthwell. It's quite possible that if you brought the lizard folk, we would be in the exact same situation. The point is, we don't necessarily want outsiders in our own meetings."
At which point Brian is going to cough loudly and look at Waves and say, well, some outsiders have been pretty helpful in these situations, and Oceanus has done nothing but been helpful to us. So maybe some fresh blood in these situations is just what we need.
And the council member sort of looks around, and Anders says, "I think we've heard enough from you, Franton. Perhaps you can settle down a little bit and see if you can move past your bigotry long enough to hear what happens next." And he's like,
As for trusting the sea elf Oceanus, considering they have laid down their safety to help us get off the ship that we were asked to investigate, and we were essentially taken hostage aboard, and I fought alongside them, I will trust them with my life, and I would trust any of these people with my life at this point. And even though some of us are outsiders, we have been incredibly helpful to this cause, and perhaps if you looked beyond the borders of your own city and didn't cloister yourself in stuffy meetings like this, these situations wouldn't be allowed to run rampant as they have done. You have boats filled with weapons sailing along your oceans. You have creatures arming themselves for reasons unknown. Or, even worse, you have creatures being traded for weapons for situations unknown by some higher or lower power. This isn't looking good for anybody involved.
or creatures being armed for nefarious purposes.
So one of the ones, a different one, who Morthwill you probably recognize as a loyalist, not a traditionalist, says, "Let's be clear here. If there is some kind of greater threat, then it suggests that it's going to come and strike at Saltmarsh, and a threat to us is a threat ultimately to the kingdom of Kaeland. That is, after all, who we should be considering most clearly." And a couple of the traditionalists kind of roll their eyes, and the loyalist goes on and says, "So, please, tell us more about this theory. Is it true, then, that the lizard men mean to attack Saltmarsh? And do we need to stop them before it happens?"
We don't know. We know the weapons were being transported. We know there was a very prominent-looking shield with a lizard head on it. And we know that the lizard men took command of the ship that was previously overrun with pirates and used in a smuggling operation that was based out of the abandoned house. We don't know what the role the lizard men actually play in this.
And Anders kind of thinks thoughtfully, his fingers steepled underneath his chin. He says, "So, the smugglers were selling weapons to the lizard folk, but we don't know why. And/or they were involved in some kind of strange indentured servitude relationship with the lizard folk, but we don't know who the lizard folk are planning to attack." And one of them says, "We'll have a hard time doing it if it comes at the end of the day. We won't be able to respond in time. If we don't act quickly, we're going to find ourselves completely unprotected." And Anders says, "What would you have me do? Order an invasion? Attack the lizard folk without knowing more?" And so there's kind of a few of the council members. And Anders looks back at all of you. "All right. Suppose for a moment that you were the council. Now we know what you've told us, and it corresponds with other information that we've received. Let's say that's all true. What would you recommend? Do we wipe out the lizard folk colony before they can attack? Do we appeal for help from the kingdom of Kaeland? Do we pretend that none of this ever happened? If you were in my position, what would you do?" And he kind of leans forward as if he's interested.
Is he saying that to a specific person or just the group?
Seems like the group. Although his eyes flicker back and forth from, I would say, Silva, because you were the last one to speak, and then to each of the rest of you, including Oceanus.
I believe an outright war with the lizard men would be playing into the hands of whomever may have been supplying them with weapons. But you cannot ignore a potential threat either.
Just as a quick side note, I'm just going to translate some of the stuff that's happening to Oceanus so that he knows what's going on. So I'll be standing next to Oceanus, sort of like
Which means Oceanus could also respond, back in kind and get retranslated, so to speak.
Perhaps a small group could be sent to scout while you shore up your defenses. I believe the sinking of the ship probably bought you some time, as we have deprived the lizard men of either weapons or information, if that indeed was the purpose.
And he kind of, Anders nods thoughtfully and looks around at the council. And a couple of the members of council sort of look at each other uncomfortably. And one of them, the traditionalist, says, "So you're going to put even more of our faith in the hands of these people? We barely know them. Some of them are people that, just because you and your servant decided to hire them, Anders, doesn't mean that they had the trust of the entire council. Now we come back and we have," and he points at Silvo, "this one who I've seen outside sleeping on the streets, or this one," and he points at Brine, "who has a reputation as being somewhat of a dangerous figure, and then a sea elf, and we know nothing about them or very little. You would put all of your hope in the hands of these people?"
Oceanus is gonna kind of step forward a little bit and start speaking in Elvish.
Okay.
we have to know what their intentions are. If my people had acted the way that some of you want to act, Saltmarsh would never have existed. It would have been ashes and timbers long before your great-grandparents were born. Long before I was young. No, old. I don't know, I've lost it here. A long time ago for you, not too many years for me, we would have wiped you out. A bunch of upstart humans on our coast.
And
We've got to find out what they're doing.
I actively translate this as well.
So when you finish translating it, the one who had been speaking says, "That sounds like a threat to me." And a couple of them, and Anders says, "I don't
Silver
think
just turns
that's
around to him and says, Silver just turns around and says, just please, just quiet your noise hole. Like, you said quite enough. You've already annoyed 3 or 4 people who are in this room alone, who are just trying to do the best they can for Saltmarsh. Yeah, I live on the streets of Saltmarsh because that's the only place I can live on the streets of Saltmarsh. I get by because most of the cheaper, more affordable places that I can stay in are run by people who have the same bigoted mindset that you do. So if they see pointy ears under a hood, then they don't want anything to do with me. So you'll excuse me if I try and get by the way that I can by, let's say, throwing my lot in with these adorable miscreants and just doing what I need to for you and your people."
It's the important part is our people, and then like one of the loyalists says, "This kind of," I was about to say, "this bickering is pointless." No, this says this kind of discussion is not helpful, and it doesn't get us any further to the conclusion of our common threat.
I don't see any of the locals around here, Morthwill and Silvo withstanding. I don't see any of you stepping up to protect this town. Exactly what have you done since we've been here?
And so they all kind of like mumble at each other. And then Anders says, "Of course, Brian is quite right. As Scarin made clear to me, this was a group of people that came together by circumstance, but they represent what Saltmarsh ought to be. What my mother would have wanted them to be, in fact, Frodent," and kind of looks over at one who kind of grumbles and subsides into silence. Anders says, "I was elected the leader of this council because we knew that Saltmarsh could not simply remain the way it has been. None of you want to keep Saltmarsh as the backwater that you claim it is." He kind of glares at one or two of them. He says, "I decided that it made sense to see what these people could do, and in return they've broken the back of a smuggling operation, at least slowed it down, and brought us information about the lizard folk, which means they've done much more, Frodent, than your people did." And Frodent's kind of like starting to get all huffy, and and a couple of people tell him to calm down, and he settles down. Finally he and Anders is about to go on, and then one person who has not spoken yet is there is what looks very much like a gnomish merchant, might be the way to put it, and she is sitting back and has been very quiet and hasn't spoken at all, and at this moment this gnomish merchant stands up and she says, "I think they deserve a little bit of a chance to see what they can prove. They've already proven something to us. You," and she points to you, Morthwill, "you said that you wanted to scout the area. Are you offering your people to do that?"
I am offering myself to do that. These people are free people and do as they will. Now, I trust them with my life after what we've been through. But if they choose not to take part in this, I will not hold them to anything. But I have lived in this town for over 100 years. I've broke bread with you, spoke with you. I even got into punch-ups with some of you. And I wouldn't trade it for anything else. Saltmarsh is my home. And if this is required to keep it safe, then I will do so as a loyal citizen.
And she pauses and she nods and she says, "That's good enough for me. It's about time someone spoke some sense in this room," and kind of settles back down with her arms folded. And Anders looks around, and there's like sullen silence from Fraudent, the traditionalist, and there's some quiet from the royalist who's spoken. And Gellin is just sort of stroking his chin, kind of looking as well, and just sort of puts this kind of strokes his chin a little bit and looks, and you can probably, if you take a look over, you can see that he sort of glances over at Scarin, who's looking steadily back at him. Scarin, remember, is standing against the wall. And he says, all right, then. Then I suppose the question is, what do we do here? If you were to be commissioned by the council, the group of you, to be sent to find out what's going on at the lizard folk lair, what would you do? And I will tell you that this commission that we're talking about does not mean necessarily attack. We'd like to know what the intentions of the lizard folk are, not to antagonize them and bring down open war. Would you be willing to do this, especially if there was a reward in the offing?
Yes. How much of a reward?
He pauses and sort of sizes you all up. Let us say 700 gold.
That's each, right?
He blinks. No.
Oh, okay.
Although when you say each, the gnomish merchant, kind of like cracks up a little bit.
I tried. I'm sorry. I tried.
Brian would like to cough a little bit and pretend to make some notes and carry the 3 and -2 and
I was very interested in these numbers. I mean, he doesn't really understand them, but he's very interested.
and then say, we feel for your cause. We've already put our lives in danger to give information to this town, and I don't speak for the rest of my crew. However, I feel that we need to at least consider seeing this through. And 700 gold is quite a reasonable amount, but we do need some equipment in order to fulfill this. If we decided to help you out, one thing I would want guaranteed is that in our absence from town, Silvo's payments to the Viper Sisters be kept up. That Oceanus gets some decent clothes, maybe a little bit of armor thrown in, and we're obviously going to need a decent ship in order to make that journey down the channel.
I'd like you to make an insight check, Brian, when you talk about the Viper Sisters.
Oceanus is going to flap his bathrobe a little bit when she talks about it. So he just the loincloth underneath.
You want an insight check, yeah?
That's right.
You sure you don't want anything else? You want insight?
No, I'm looking at insight here.
5?
You're like, okay. They definitely, when you said this thing about the Viper Sisters, you could see they looked at each other, and you definitely heard that. So we'll come back to the implications of that theoretically.
Okay.
So they kind of pause, and then Anders says, I will have to speak to the council about this further, but I don't see any concern with at least part of what you've said. As far as Silvo's payments to the Viper Sisters, and the council kind of murmur, does that suggest that there's a connection between Silvo and the Viper Sisters?
Okay, listen, I haven't done a lot of work that I'm massively proud of, and through circumstance, I became indebted to them. Circumstance I'd rather not talk about in front of law enforcement.
He's working for her. That's what they're saying. He's working for the Viper Sisters. We know that that's what's happening here.
I'm not working for the Viper Sisters. I am an independent contractor, a freelance elf, if you will.
You know, if the council ran better, they wouldn't have to worry about the Viper Sisters. You shut up. So the council starts getting into this big argument about the Viper Sisters and about Silvo being sort of beholden to the Viper Sisters. I told you couldn't trust him. He lives on the street. Be quiet, you bigot. So this goes back and forth. And finally, Anders manages to settle them down. And he says, let us deal with the concerns about Silvo's indebtedness to these members of our town community at another point. We'll worry about that later. Right now, we have to worry about this immediate threat, or finding out what the immediate threat is. And he turns to Brian and says, all right, we agreed to your terms. And the question we have for you is, how do you wish to get to this place? Based on the map that you've shown us, that's in the middle of the Hool Marshes. There is the river which leads up into the center of it, and so you have several options. You could go by sea or by land, I suppose, and either one has its own drawbacks and benefits.
Sea would be most expeditious, since we could be under a bit of time pressure here, not knowing there would listen an exact plan or timetable of said plan.
And he nods slowly and he says, well, we can in that event provide you a modified keelboat. It will have 2 pairs of oars. It'll have a step-down mast. It should be large enough to accommodate all of you and any reasonable amount of equipment that you wish to take. We'll have 2 of our trained guards who will actually row the boat up to the area that's needed, and then they'll stay with it while you do your reconnaissance, if that's acceptable.
I look at the more seasoned sailors in the party at that.
I'm gonna look around at the others and say we might need to discuss before we completely agree.
I nod.
Silver realizes he's been holding a book for a couple of seconds. He's like, oh yeah, something else you probably want to know about as well. When you go to the supposedly abandoned house, there's a wizard there who basically he's bad news. His name's Sambalat, and I don't think he's going to be too much of a threat because this is his spell book. Details of that can remain classified, and Silver kind of opens the spell book a bit and goes to the last page with the strange markings on. He sort of points at it. He shows it to the council from the table. He goes, I don't quite know what this says, but I know it's dangerous. So he could have access to some pretty horrible magic. So if you're going to go, take someone who's good against that sort of thing.
And
sort of lays it on the table for people to see.
I would like, I think, all of you to make a insight check for me, please. Sorry, Brian.
I'm just not wise.
It's your second chance. No.
Yeah.
Brian, you're like, I can't trust my own people. Do I even trust myself?
Guidance.
I hovered on that 20 for a second.
Guidance on yourself. Okay.
I got a 20.
All right. Let's see. We've got and then Oceana's with it. A lot of people not being overly insightful here. What did Waves get?
Waves got me closing all the windows and not opening them again.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling so well.
Inside. I clicked it, but it's not happening. Well, that's wonderful. I try clicking it again.
Okay.
Okay, that's I'll close things and open them again. Maybe that's what they want. I don't know.
Roll20 lags sometimes as well. I'm expecting a dice storm all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there.
This is probably a good chance to mention while we're waiting for dice rolls that Silvo, while laying the book out, Silvo starts to sort of rub his temple a bit, like he has a headache.
Okay. All right, we'll keep that in mind. Also, Waves will take that 12 from you, which is the one that we got
sorry,
first.
I don't know.
So I would say the one person who really notices here is Morthwheel. When the comment is made about Sanballat and about working, with them and all that, you very clearly see Scarin sort of looking at like sort of hears the name Sanballat, looks at Anders, who doesn't seem to be looking back at him, and then looks at Gellin, and then kind of, returns to what he was doing. So it's kind of subtle. He's not like, da, 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 but, he sort of looks in that direction and then kind of looks back to where he was.
Did you say that was Gellin
Scarran.
Scarran looking at Gellin?
Scarran looking first at Anders, but Anders was not looking back at him. And then he looked at Gellin. And Gellin didn't really do anything either. Gellin was not looking in his direction. But Scarran was definitely like trying to get a read on or something. So Morthwell would have noticed that. Okay. So we have the book that's been mentioned, and the.
Do I notice if does anybody mention the actual symbols on the page? Because this is a very different looking page,
right?
Isn't it?
They don't seem to, no. And it doesn't. You don't get any immediate reaction from any of the council members, although they do look at the book. They seem more interested in you talking about this possibly dangerous, magic wizard guy who was in the smuggling house. That seems to be more on their mind than this.
Just gonna lean over to Brian a second and say, "Can you hear that? You hear like a wind noise, like a."
You can see Brian's like slightly pointed ears, like twitching a little bit. No, I don't hear anything.
I can hear something. I don't know what I can hear. Yeah,
Maybe put that book away.
Yeah,
This is the first time that Oceanus has seen this book, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Does he recognize the script at all on this mysterious page?
What language? It probably only has you speaking Elvish, I guess. Oceanus.
Elvish, and he can read any of the primordial languages.
Yeah, this doesn't look like that. Your guess is that this is something which has some kind of magical, runic in nature, type of thing. It doesn't, but it seems like it's more magical than it is like Elvish or some other kind of language.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no one sort of reacts to the book or anything like that.
Other than, I mean, they definitely don't ignore it, but they seem much more interested in like, wait, there's a bad wizard, type of thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm gonna close the book and put it away.
Okay. So Anders stands up again and says, "All right then. If that's settled, we can try to get you arranged. And if you're able to leave, even by tomorrow morning, it would be preferable. The faster we move on this, especially if you have bought us time, the
I'm
better."
sorry. Could you speak up a little? There's a wind near me somewhere. I can't. There's a noise. I cannot, and I'm leaning into the table right now, talking to Anders. I'm like, I cannot hear. There's a lot of people chattering somewhere, and I cannot hear a thing right now.
Chattering now. Everyone is like the whole room has been dead silent just now, except for Anders speaking. Just the rest of you know.
Just for RP flavor, I'm going to cast Detect Thoughts.
Okay.
Well, Detect Thoughts is going to be cast. So let's just have a quick look at this. So for the duration, you can read thoughts of certain creatures. When you cast a spell, as your action, you can as your action, basically you can focus your mind on one creature that you can hear within 30 feet. But I get the impression as well that at the minute I can just kind of hear everything because it's not focused.
Faintly, and that means that it's not really doing what it's supposed to do, which is to give you insight. Yeah, that's right.
But at the minute, Silvo's shouting right now because he can't hear anything.
And Anders looks a little bit taken aback, as does the rest of the council. Like,
I look at critical at Silvo and move closer and cast Detect Magic.
I would say there is definitely a lot of magic radiating off of him. Yes. Unclear though whether it's a particular spell or not, but there's definitely an intense amount of magic coming from and around Silvo at the moment.
You specifically sense divination magic for some reason.
Okay, I look around to see like if the magic is coming from somewhere in this room towards Silvo or it's just on him.
No, it seems more like from
around.
Silvo.
And he was looking at that book before, right? It's like, can I see like the book glowing or something?
I think he put the book away, right?
No, yeah, I
So-
put the book away. The book didn't. There was no sort of glow or vibration or anything from the book, and it's not
Yeah,
the
but
first time I've
the-
had that page out.
Yeah, but the detect magic would show me like the book glowing, and the spell can penetrate most barriers. So even if you put it away, if the book is the problem, I would see it now.
glowing through it. I would say that I would say the book does glow a little bit, but the stronger sort of outline of magic is around Silvo.
Okay, still, if I see the book glowing, I will point towards the back and like extend my hand to like in a give me motion.
At the minute, Silver's just sort of like clutching his between his brow and like rubbing one of his temples. He sort of looks over to you and he's like, I don't know what you want, or rather, he's shouting like, I don't know what you want. What do you need?
Okay, I pull out his bag.
You pull up my bag.
Yeah, where the book is.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Do you make like a book motion or anything like that, or?
Yeah, like I point and like.
Okay, yeah, here. I give you the spell book. I'm just like, I can't. I just cannot. There's so much of everything right now.
I try
Where's
to like carry
Brian?
the book away from Silver because I'm not sure whether this is the cause.
Okay, the
Listen,
council is
I-
getting more and more like talking to each other like as this is going on.
I lean into Brian, and I say, I think I need to leave. I think I need to leave now.
Okay. In which case, I think I say, I think we need to adjourn this meeting so that myself and my crew can go and speak about what is to come and potentially prepare. Can we reconvene?
And Anders, who's sort of been watching Silvo with some fascination, yes. And he stands up and he says, or actually he was already standing, and he says, yes, the keelboat will be made ready for you down at the docks tomorrow morning, and will be equipped with food and other such supplies. In the meantime, you can return to wherever it is you've been staying, and as I say, there'll be a reward for you on the other end of this. But you should get him some rest, I think. It's kind of just like looking right at Silvo.
I'm gonna I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, and my friend's clothes, pointing or like gesturing to Oceanus.
We'll send out for
and,
that.
I'm just I forgot what else I asked for at the time. Okay. No, I don't think I wrote it down. Okay, we shall reconvene, and I kind of like not usher but gently guide Silvo out of the hall.
Okay.
I completely follow, like someone who is suffering from an intense migraine and is being led out of a bright room. So are we now, have we left?
So
the
now,
council?
assuming you all follow, then you are now outside the hall. Yes.
Yeah, Morthal bows and leaves after them.
Okay.
Awesome. I look over to Brian. Brian, quick question. What is on your mind right at this moment?
What right at this moment? I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
What thought is going through Brian's mind right at this minute?
Right this second, probably what was actually going through my mind at the moment, which is probably Brian's as well, is to get Silvo to the. So I was looking for the name of the pub to get Silvo to the Snapping Lion Inn, where we know it's slightly safer.
Excellent. Who comes out the door next? Following us? Is it Waves, Oceanus, or Morthwell?
That's up
Uh,
to the three of you.
Say
close
I'd
to
come
Silvo.
last.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's probably Waves, Oceanus, then Morthal.
Waves. Same question to you. What is crossing your mind right at this moment?
It might sound like a really weird mind to you because wave thinking is a bit different.
Yep.
So it's like you hear a lot of different voices saying like, magic, Silvo, book, and then maybe something like go, temple, like stuff like this.
Excellent. Oceanus, same question. What is on your mind right now?
Is this a gift from Sehanine Moonbow? I've never seen anything like it's. Is he ill? Why is his mind like? What is going on?
And finally, Mortwill, same question.
Could be a difficult journey. I think I might know what I need to do to get the scorpion working, though.
The scorpion working, brilliant. Okay, so Silver basically, as everyone sort of files out of the room, Silver just sort of he's glancing at everyone, and he says bunches of words like, "Why are we going to the inn? What's at the inn? Oh, I need to check if Hannah's okay." But you hear this in his voice and in your head as well, and then he says, I don't know, and none of you have spoken, right? He says, I don't know. Looking at Waves, I don't know if it's the book. I don't know if anyone at the temple can help. I don't know. No, it's not a gift. I don't think this is a gift from the moon goddess, Oceanus. And I don't know if it's an illness, but it's what's the scorpion? Why are you talking about a scorpion all of a sudden? And I'm just looking at everyone individually. And I'd say about 60 seconds.
Now
or so.
Waves wonders if we should dunk you into cold water to see if it clears up.
Wake up, man.
With that, Silver just seems to snap out of it. I have no clue where that came from. I was in there, and all of a sudden, I just heard like 100 voices whispering at me. And it was so painful. And I came out here and I heard something about the tavern in Brian's voice, but you weren't moving your lips. And Waves was saying something about the book and a temple. And Oceanus was asking if it was a gift, but I didn't need to hear it in Elvish. I heard it. I heard it. And Mortha was talking about something called the Scorpion and it being a difficult journey. I don't know what this was. I have no idea. Oh, I didn't like that at all. I think I might need to go and see someone. I think I might need to go and have a chat with someone about all of this.
Brian is just nodding. Yes, yeah. And I'm just everyone in. Should we go to the inn? And kind of just leading. I
could definitely do with a drink right now. But bonus points. Didn't tear any walls to pieces, so that's an improvement on last time. And
no tentacles.
Didn't go all blah.
Brian is all for the positive reinforcement. No tentacles either. It was very controlled.
No tentacles, no different realms, no.
Just keeping ushering.
Plates.
Yeah.
Oceanus is going to look around and make sure no one's listening when he sees them all gesturing about the tentacles.
Yeah, there are a few people who are kind of wandering around who look at all of you a little curiously, but they don't stop walking and just stare at you or anything like that.
Okay.
So I think it's safe to say we're probably going to make our way to the snapping line now.
All right. The snapping line is, of course, next door, so that's convenient. And as you make your way over there, you see the familiar signs of the smell of fish a little bit, kind of just floating, lightly around the outside of the tavern, as is always the case. And when you go in, you can see that Hannah Rist is working behind the bar and is talking to another customer at the moment and has not yet seen you. Bye-bye, friendly kitten.
I'm going to go up behind the bar and give her a nudge with my shoulder to say hello.
Oh, what do you do? Oh, Silvo.
Nice stranger.
What have you been doing back there?
Well, listen that.
You were gone for, a few days. What's happened to you? What's happened to all of you?
Ooh,
who's that? She catches sight of Oceanus. She's like, what happened to you? And who's that?
Oh yeah, he's with us. That is best told over some frosty crab wine, which I'm pretty sure you can sort us out for, and I'll drop 3 gold on the counter.
And she says, Where'd you get? And she looks at you suspiciously, and she's like, "Wait a minute."
It's honest. It's honest. I've been doing work, not work.
Honest because you've been honest from whom?
I am an agent of the government. Honest work, honest people, and I motion to everyone. Honest people, honest work.
She drops her voice. You know, the Viper sisters aren't exactly honest. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to cut ties with the sisters. But I'll just keep that between you and me right now.
You mean you're an agent for an actual government, not them?
Yeah, one of the good ones, one of the proper ones, not one of the ones that say they're a government is actually Fred and his 4 mates that meet in the back of the tavern every Tuesday. No, I mean an actual government, like Anders Solmar, actual people.
Anders Solmar?
Yeah.
You're working for the council? There's all kind of problems in that. When you were saying it wasn't like a real government, I thought you were talking about Boris Johnson, but now that I know that it's Anders Solmar, that's a whole different matter. And
yeah, no, I'm working for our other unelected officials rather than that unelected official.
Right. As long as I know, you talked about incompetence, and I immediately thought. So she kind of like then sort of, oh, I'm sorry. Right. Well, I can help you out with if you need some drink, I can provide that to you. And kind of brings over a couple of mugs, pours you some of the delicious crab wine. If you want, there's probably other sort of basic beer. She says that she has at the moment Tears of the Octopi is here. And this Tears of the Octopi is apparently really, really good. And is kind of their new special that they've just added in. There's also a spiced mulled cider. So you got a spiced mulled cider in there and some other options. And so she pours out the drinks and then puts them down. And just before she goes back to the bar, she says, listen, Silvo and the rest of you, there's been people who came about, not today, but yesterday, who asked if any of you had been seen here. They mentioned you, Morthwheel, and you, Silvo, but they also talked about the rest of you. Even, well, not this one, and she points at Oceanus, but the other two. And, I don't know, pretty sure that I was looking at the traditionalists, and, they seemed pretty upset. So, keep your head on a swivel is what I'm saying.
Good to know.
And then she heads off back to the bar.
Wow, look at that. We done pissed off some traditionalists. Well, I would call that good work. And I sort of clink glasses with everyone.
Yeah, I kind of cheers everyone and drink to people's health.
Yep, I'm going to chew my crab wine.
Morthwell joins him and goes, if they're mad at us now, they're going to be pretty darn steamed when a bunch of non-humans do what they refuse to.
Love to see the look on their faces.
Aye, it's always fun when you can do good and spit in someone's eye.
Especially
Jubilate. That's not his voice. That's sorry. Jubilate. There we go.
I imagined him just turning into like this drunken Viking all of a sudden. It's like, another!
Just gets into fights with people randomly and
2
Smashing
hours
glasses
later,
on the floor.
Oceanus, there's a line of people waiting to arm wrestle Oceanus.
Your
Exactly.
great grandfather disrespected me.
I remember it was like it was yesterday because it was for me. Okay. So,
All right, I'm going
hold
to
on a
ask
second.
Morthwell a question. I'm going to ask Morthwell.
The suspension is killing me.
I know, right? I was going to ask Morthwell if he would know anyone of like a magical nature or a town wizard or a mystic nature or some sort of soothsayer, fortune teller, someone who knows something about magic who can go to, who preferably isn't directly employed by Gellum Primewater or one of the traditionalists, you know. and will be able to, now that Silvo's got a few coins in his pocket, he can go, hey, I need some advice.
There is there's Ferrin Castellar. He's a druid. It's more sort of the naturey tree sort of magic, which I don't know
I mean,
how much use that might be to yourself. It's more sort of trees and less nightmare tentacles from other dimensions, but it might be able to help.
right now I'll tell you what I can get.
I don't really know of too many priests of Macabre around these parts. He's more of a dwarven fella kind of god, really.
Yeah.
But he is the god of magic, after all. And if anybody knew anything about magic, it'd probably be a priest of Macabre.
That is true. That is very true. I mean, right now, I just I think I just want to understand it a bit more, which I don't know if I ever wanted to before. I don't know. I was always just sort of told, well, I guess I was always made to believe that this was a thing that had happened to me, where I think more recently, it's just, I don't know, it's just something I can't control, but it's part of me regardless. So I don't know. I'm still happy to have, a knife at my side, but if I can do a couple of bits with magic while I'm doing this adventure with you, then that would be useful.
Control definitely sounds like a good thing. I didn't get a good look at what happened on the ship, what with everybody crowding around, alternatively trying to help you or throw you overboard. But that's the sort of reaction not being in control gets. Yeah,
imagine,
you need to figure out how to control that.
I need to at least put a lid on that. There's a little part of me that was worried about being in the council chamber when I started hearing all those whispers, because I wasn't quite sure what that was. But like I said, if you know of this, what was the druid's name again?
I believe the fellow's name was Ferrin Castellar. Not had any business dealings with him myself, though. With what I do to wood, I don't think he'd approve.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I might. I think we've got a little bit of time before we're gonna head out. I might see about asking Ferrin some questions about magic. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. After all you've done to help us, least I can do. I just wish I could do more for you. But whatever you have going on with you is far beyond what they teach us at the Artifices.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish this came with instructions sometimes. Or if anyone had ever written anything down about it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had to pay people. That's it's probably one of the reasons I'm still living on the streets. It's just all the money I'm earning, I'm spending on people going and finding tomes and papers and God knows what to try and find out something about this. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I've got a bit of a stash of academic stuff in one of the alleyways out near the blacksmith, which has quite a lot of information in it. None of it's useful. Not a piece. Absolutely not a piece. All about the application of alchemy and brewing poisonous potions, and none of it. I don't understand any of it. None of it talks about, by the way, when you fall unconscious, you fall into a horrible floaty realm filled with monsters for God knows how long, and then fall back out of it awake and apparently alive. So I don't know.
If you ever need any money, that'd probably be worth some coin to the right people.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about that before. I guess for such a long time I was just kind of hoarding it like that was what was going to help, all of it together. I think I was just missing the piece. I was just missing that one piece of information that would unlock all of the other bits and make everything make sense.
Well, wizardy types are known to be hoarders of books, so maybe you're halfway there already.
Maybe. All I need is a pointy hat and a bad attitude like Sambalat.
That's the spirit. At least your spirits seem to be raised.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something. I don't know. I think I just like being in the company of you guys. I feel a bit safer.
Well,
I mean, I'm not. You
of...
always nearly get me killed, but...
Funny, I've just spent all of the last few weeks thinking you were going to get me killed, but here we are.
Well,
And not to put too fine a point on it or to pressure or anything, but have any of you given any thoughts about working with the council? I'm committed to go no matter what, but I would greatly appreciate having you at my back.
I would not let you go alone without support.
I mean, I live here now, and if anything's going to happen to Saltmarsh, I can, I don't know, get involved in making bad stuff not happen. I'm in.
I'm waiting to see what reaction Waves has.
Waves nips at her tea if she was able to get some, and seems to be a bit undecided because the stealth mission doesn't seem like something she can accomplish. So she's still like,
There might be gold.
There might be another ship.
At least our ship's a bit of an upgrade.
I mean, if we have an opportunity, we've sunk one of their ships. If we have an opportunity to steal another, well, we might even get rewarded and get to keep the ship.
You never know. I turn to O'Shaughnessy in Elvish. I ask him, so, distant friend, would you pick up your trident and help us defend Saltmarsh?
I'm with you for now, little brother. With you for now.
O'Shaughnessy is with us. I think we're all just
appreciate
looking
it.
away.
I admit the thought of venturing off by myself was fairly daunting regardless. So I am grateful, even if some of you are more monetarily interested.
I'm just gonna slap Morthwell on the back and say, we wouldn't let you go alone.
I would. I 100% would let you go alone, but there is money involved, and I don't know, I've grown kind of used to you now, so it'd be weird not having you around for a bit. I mean, if you get eaten, I'm not bringing you back, but it would be weird having you around, not having you around for a bit.
If you let me get eaten, you'd best be sure they did a good job of it, or I'll be coming out angry.
Yeah, noted. So I think it's fair to say that together we could probably achieve anything we put our mind to it. How that turns out is another story, but I'm pretty certain we could achieve anything. And Silver holds his now half drunk, half chewed glass of crab wine and just waits for the rest of them.
Oceanus raises his.
Morthwell raises his.
Waves raises hers.
So does Brian.
There's decided. We are officially council employees.
And I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like that's actually a good spot to stop the session for today, because the next step is actually going to the lair, which is going to happen next. But I would say that the probably what you may not have seen is you all raising your flagons together and tankards and clinking them, and probably Hannah just sort of sneaking a look around and then sort of smiling to herself, not in a nasty way, and going back up stairs as Silvo, Morthwell, Waves, Brian, and Oceanus pledge their loyalty to each other and to the council. So, from Viper Sister employed to council employed, and or pirate self-employed, I guess in Brian's case, to guild employed by Morthwell and so on, we have a whole new setup for this. Silva just pledged loyalty to getting... Well, okay, fair enough, yes, but that's true. But there is nonetheless some loyalty to something. And now we're going to see what happens. You all got a chance to notice a little bit of the internal workings, just the beginnings of the internal workings of some of what's happening with the council, and that will probably only increase, I would guess, as time goes on. So we'll get a chance to see more of that develop over time. Very exciting to see how that goes down. I will start with Ananda. Brian, again, had some very good moments here we didn't have any combat in this session, obviously. Very good moments here, though, of role play, of kind of laying things out about, here's the deal with the council. Like, you would never even have found this out without these other people that you're being bigoted against and all that kind of stuff. And also, of course, deciding what she's going to do going forward, as now you have to decide what you're going to do with this sort of lizard folk lair. So there were some interesting moments, I thought, with all of that. How did you feel about this session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
I always enjoy D&D with this crew. It's always a lot of fun. It's interesting with Brian, because she's not the sharpest tool in the shed, and she's not very wise either. So when it comes to like RPing things like this, she doesn't really think things through that much. It's very much, well, this is my crew. This is obviously what we're going to do. Why on earth would I let Morthwill go off on his own? That just wouldn't happen. Let's get Silvo out of this situation. But if anyone badmouths myself or my crew, then I will throw down, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was a huge amount of fun, and I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into our collective level 3 powers as they arrive moving forward. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Really looking forward to seeing how this develops in the next session. As far as where you'll find me next, I'll be over on my own channel for the rest of the week. Tomorrow's more Dark Souls 3. Friday, I will be continuing reading Bram Stoker's Dracula, which was a channel redemption. And then Saturday, I will be back over here from 12 till 4 in my normal GOG slot.
Good stuff. Very exciting for all of it, and yeah, that sounds like the Bram Stoker reading will be a lot of fun too. So that'll be good times. And you should put your Patreon down there again, and link that in chat too, so that people can see that, Ananda. So we have links to it. God knows I did enough self promotion over the last few weeks with the Kickstarter, so you should throw that down there.
It's fine. I can if you like, but it's fine.
Pyron did already. Well done, Pyron. Thank you. See,
Thank
already done. Go over and give Ananda that support. But thanks, Ananda. Good stuff, and we will see you next month, which is only a week away until the next month. That doesn't mean we're doing it next week, but you know what I mean. Always a pleasure. Also, always a pleasure to see how. And I should have jumped up to. I was doing it in the reverse order and I messed this up. So I'll go to Fleos next and then I'll jump down to Mike. Fleos, I know that Oceanus did get a chance to actually get some things spoken. I really liked Oceanus's statement in the council about listen, and there's always a little bit of this get off my lawn from Oceanus because of Oceanus having been there for a long time. So just kind of listen, I could have destroyed your grandfathers. And are you threatening us? No, that's not what I meant. I didn't. And then everyone's arguing. It sounded like a threat. That was very funny. And it'll next session, assuming that people head off to the lair, we'll have a chance to see, depending on how they do it, whether it's through combat or whether it's through stealth or diplomacy, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how Oceanus deals with things there. And of course, Oceanus does have his own interests relating to the kingdom of the sea elves and what they want too. So there's still a little bit of that that's going on also. But of course, there's the association as well with the people that rescued him. So felt like all of that was in play. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun today. I'm glad I got a chance to speak. It's a little difficult for me to be kind of trying to keep it in the role play of I don't really know what's going on, at the same time not wanting to literally just sit here the whole session and just smile and nod and not contribute.
Right.
And so I appreciate what you did to bring me into it, and just that we could all be together, because I really like being with you guys and I always have a lot of fun with you. assuming I'm feeling well enough, tomorrow I'll be on my own channel doing some more Dungeons and Dragons, but this is advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, listen, none of this basic nonsense that we do.
No, the old Pool of Radiance game. I'm playing.
Hell yeah,
through
I
that
lurked
for
in your channel watching some of that. I played it on my own channel. Pool of Radiance is great. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It's fun. It's the first time I played a gold box game, and so it's been a lot of fun. And so that's what I've mostly been doing on my channel. And then, of course, I'll always be here Monday evening / Tuesday, depending on where you live, doing something. So yesterday I was playing Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and I'll probably continue that next week as well. But I think that's me.
Good stuff. Thanks, Leos. Yeah, definitely check out more of the Pool of Radiance stuff. And here, obviously, Heroes of Might and Magic 3 is awesome too. So, good stuff. Thank you, Flayas. Yeah, hope you feel better soon, and we will have you back again, of course, next month.
Look forward to it.
Moving right back down in the order that I was going to go to before I forgot. Mike, Silvo, we got a chance to hear both a little bit more of Silvo's, this time it was this detect thoughts thing that was kind of flowing through and you weren't even aware of what was going on, and then everyone else was aware. I continue to find it sort of, I think, quite thematic within the campaign, since one of the things that has been dealt with is this idea of acceptance, of tolerance, of bigotry, of those tensions among those things. And I continue to find it part of that theme that the party has been a place which has been kind of a safe space for Silvo. Like, they have not run screaming every time Silvo's been like, tentacles, like, and they're just like, oh yeah, you are now in my secret thoughts. That's fine, no problem. Like, instead there's, and I think Morthwheel feels like kind of the poster child for this, is sort of a general, we like Silvo. There's something worth, Silvo's a good guy. There's something worth having about Silvo around and all that. And so even though these continue to be very challenging for Silvo, this isn't just a cluster, because everyone's just like, I can't take it anymore. Well, what are you doing? Like, what? We haven't gotten that. Not that people haven't reacted to it, but at least it feels like the crew has gotten your back, I guess, from what I've been able to tell, which has been interesting, even to and including the possibility of dealing with the Viper sisters and getting legitimate employment through the council. So that was a lot of fun to watch that play out. And of course, Silvo talking to the council and being kind of a petulant and righteous, in this case, teen, was part of that too. How did you feel about the session today? Where will the fine folks find you next?
I adored it. Spoiler alert, I absolutely adored this session. I adore every session of Saltmarsh and every session of Talisman, and just basically just RPing and playing tabletop games with you lot. You're my favorite bunch of people to play this sort of thing with. And I think Silvo, there's a definite connection there between certain members of the party, where he's getting definite sort of cool aunt vibes off of Brine, and loving uncle vibes off of Morthwheel, and sort of feisty sister vibes off of Waves. There's this part of Waves and Silver that want to protect each other, and part that want to wring each other's neck, and this sort of mentorish feeling from Oceanus, because he's revered this race for so long. And I'm just trying to, every now and then I try and drop little bits and pieces, like the bit where we're in the council house and Silvo dared, someone who has taken care of himself on the streets for so much for so long, he dared to lean over to Brian and ask for help. He's like, I need to get out of here. I need help. I need you to get me out of here. Like, he wouldn't, beginning of the campaign, he would never have done that. But I really want him to just I can feel how his progression is going, but I know he can't just go from 0 to 100 immediately. So there's little bits that I want to do every now and then. Like, you can't immediately be like, oh, I'm the super badass elf sorcerer. Like, he's gotta get his head around this. There's only one way of doing it, and that's screwing it up and getting it wrong and all this sort of stuff. So eventually it will all come around. But yeah, I don't know, there's something to be said about a young person who's taking a stand for something that they believe in, even if they're not openly admitting that they believe in it. They're just like, no, I'm just here for the money. Whereas actually they've got a vested interest in what's going on with it. But I'm adoring it. I'm adoring the character progression of everyone. I'm adoring the interaction, the role play, all of it. It's just, top tier quality stuff. If you want to find out more about me, right this second, nothing is happening. And it's the first time nothing has happened for weeks. But right now, I'm going to be planning more streams, hopefully not for this week, but for next week. So I'm hopefully going to be doing some more Lo-Fi Gaming streams next week. So check that out. You can check me out on all social media platforms and also on TikTok. I'm doing Silvo cosplays every now and then. So you can find some shorts, some skits in regards to that. But at Peripheral Mike, absolutely everywhere on the internet. And yeah, I'll see you next time.
Good stuff. Thank you, Mike. Good work tonight. Also, wonderful work as always from Dark Saber. Morthwill also had a very, again, I'm really becoming struck by, I mean, there's all different roles that everyone in the party takes on, but it feels to me like Morthwill is really taking on kind of the moral center, where Morthwill is just like, this is what we have to do. And the party's just like, yeah, like we do have to do that. And it's not by being like, I order you to just, but there's a sort of general kind of, I think you're doing a good job at presenting the idea of Morthwill as a character who's generally like, there's a threat that has to be addressed. This is the threat that has to be addressed. And we have a thing that has to be done. And this is the thing that has to be done. And so that kind of moral through line, I guess, has really stayed together with Morthwill, which is fascinating because it's coming off of, obviously, coming off of of your last character, because Selsig was not really the moral center of the group for most of the campaign. And so I really think it's been interesting to watch the way that this time there's been a real focus in the way morally you kind of bring things to bear. And so that's been fun. That and the fact that you now are like, can I use my cartographer's kit, the navigator's kit? Which kit? I have so many kits that I can use. I expect that they're all rolled up in little things and you just like pick them all up so you can take them out of their pouch or whatever. So there's that too. How'd you feel about the session today, Saber? Where will the fine folks find you next?
It was a lot of fun. It's really nice when we get like a meaty RP session, especially on the back of some stressful combat.
Yeah.
So we could just kick back and, explore our characters, explore each other's characters.
Yep.
I think we're playing off each other really, really well. I say it is very interesting exploring Morthwill. So I'm as much figuring him out as you are finding out about him in a lot of cases. And like you say, he's so different from Zelsig and very, very interesting. Particularly, like I say, like dropping the hints now about the skills he'll be pulling out later on.
Yep.
Like the Scorpion. Which again, what is the Scorpion? You'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
Come back next session. You may get to see the Scorpion, or you may see one of the other new things that I have up my sleeve.
Just wipes out the entire lair. Just like, well, we didn't find out what they wanted, but they won't be a threat anymore. like.
Possibly. We'll have to see, won't we? But yeah, again, it's just a lot of fun. I did enjoy getting to make my little speech about this is more my home than most of you.
Yeah.
I've been here longer.
Yeah.
I was here first, damn it.
Yeah.
How dare you call me an outsider?
Big fan of the anti-bigotry speeches, can I just say, separate from the roles I have to play. Big fan. Let's just, I think that's a generally statement I like to see from everybody. Big fan of seeing that. So, yeah.
It's kind of funny because it ties in like our last campaign when people kept going like humankind is at stake, and we're just like, we're not human.
Yeah, exactly. How about humanoid kind? How about exactly.
But as for me, I will be back here, creature of habit as I always am. I will be back here tomorrow. I'm going to be playing some Hammerting because it's on sale this week, and I love me some dwarf fortressy building, so I'm going to be having some fun with that. And I too will be carrying on with the D&Ds on Thursday on my channel, carrying on with Baldur's Gate. So we're finally getting to the point now. I think I found the right way to progress through the game, where it's not like, oh, what's through this secret door? And a lich is like, hi, I'm going to kill your party.
Yeah.
And then it casts stop time. And then time resumes and your party dies.
I know exactly what you're talking about, that particular thing too. You're just like,
I
oh, look.
two that do that in secret places now.
Yep. You don't want to go into
liches
secret
can one city
doors.
have?
It's just bad. It's bad stuff happens behind there.
It's an easily found secret door in a tavern. I was like, oh, okay.
Separate note, that's two people in this call who are doing D&D games. So let's keep this up, okay? It gives me a whole lot to watch. I could just be like, go to this D&D stream, that D&D stream, this D&D stream. Anyway, sorry.
That's it. Yeah, back on my channel on Thursday, and we'll be continuing with this. Well, to be confirmed, but I think we've got Talisman. Did we get a date for that yet?
We haven't gotten a date for it yet. I am not going to be here for next Tuesday's stream. I've got to cancel because I'm going to be driving to Gen Con which is doing a live D&D event and running the symposium there and everything. So I will not be doing next Tuesday's GOG stream, but then I'll be back. Fortunately, there are 5 Tuesdays in August, so I will be back for 9th, 16th, 23rd, 30th. So somewhere between there, we will get the next talisman, and that can the Tuesday the 9th is maybe a little bit dicey because of when I'm getting back, but it's possible. There's a possibility of that, and certainly 16th, 23rd, and 30th. So somewhere in those 3 to 4 dates, we'll pick something up, probably early enough so we can make sure that Fleos gets in before school starts back up. So, but we'll talk about that on Discord and make it happen. But
I look forward to it.
It will be good times. We will see Saber back here for Talisman and for more Saltmarsh. And last but certainly not least, thank you, Saber. Always a pleasure. Last but certainly not least, Pyron Jade, who did in fact I'm glad your alarm went off, okay, and I'm glad that we were able to get you on for all of this. And Waves, I felt, was very much, as you mentioned a couple times, like Waves was sort of torn about the stealth stuff, but otherwise Waves was, kind of watching and waiting, I think, to see how things were going to come out. Definitely, I thought the Detect Magic was interesting because you're right, there is this continual interaction between Waves and Silvo, which is very interesting, which is, I feel like Waves doesn't know what to make of Silvo totally, but also, likes him, but then also is not sure about things sometimes with him. So there's that. And then of course there's the general, now Waves has another chance at a boat. It's not the same boat, but it's an upgrade boat, so there's that, but it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And I was just having fun watching Waves, getting a sense of watching others in this case. How did you feel about the session tonight, Pyron? Where will the fine folks find you next?
I usually say that I'm like all around happy with the session, but this time I would have a small point of critique. It was not enough. I want more.
It was not enough. That's on me too, because
I want more.
Goddamn OBS problem. Yeah, I know.
So,
agree.
Yeah, this is like, but this would be my critique for tonight.
I agree.
Otherwise, I was really happy. I mean, Waves is just not a natural leader. So like just walking along, looking at the stuff and all of this is just more her thing. So I feel like I could be very much Waves tonight, and I liked it. And I don't know when people will see me next, I have to admit, because I currently have no streaming plans. I just come off my week of vacation. And also some of my responsibilities within GOG have changed a little bit, so I can now dedicate more time to the stream team again, which I'm so damn happy about. And I can also already announce that we're adding more members again, and that Noodle Beef Noodle is going to join us very, very soon. The NDA is currently being processed within GOG, just waiting for the okay to add her to everything. And that we have some other people who are also applying, and so this is something that makes me really happy because I love this team and all the things we do. And so I'm really happy that I'm now being shifted towards that more again than compared to the other stuff I did in the last month and all of it. Apart from that, I'm working, and it's summer holidays here, and both kids are home, so it's all a bit chaotic. But I would love to join some people from multiplayer streams and everything, and I just hope. And I'm very, very much looking forward to our next tabletop RPG session.
Yeah, me too. And I will make a personal guarantee that my OBS won't blow up this time. He said as OBS laughs at him. Anyway, but it was a great pleasure as always to have this crew with us, and they will be back. 3 of them will be, 3 of them will be back twice next month because Pyron Saber and Mike will join Undeveloped Bruce next month for some Talisman Adventures. But all 5 of these lovely people will be back for Ghosts of Saltmarsh next month as well. And I won't say assault on, I will say the secret stealth raid or investigation of the lizard folk lair, I guess. That's however we want to define it. And or the flamethrow scorpion destruction of the lair, like whatever Morthwell decides, I guess ultimately is part of that too. But anyway, it was a great pleasure having all these people with us. Good friends and wonderful role players. Can we get some love for the amazing Pyron Jade, the incredible Darksaber 2K, the incomparable Peripheral Mike, the astonishing Inanda, and the unbelievably cool Fleos. It was great to have all of them here, and they shall be back with us next month. Thank you, everybody. Bye, players, for now.
See ya.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And, the totally perfect stealth mission, exactly. All right. So that is going to do it for us for tonight. That was a ton of fun. And yeah, this is one of those deals where I really wish that I could just be like, okay, like let's play it up. First of all, I would like to play for longer. I cannot do that tonight because I have some responsibilities that I need to get to, which is why I'm so annoyed that the OBS did not work correctly. That sucks. So anyway, I hope that will be not an issue next time. Just that because that delayed us considerably. But on top of that, also next Tuesday, in all likelihood, there will not be a GOG.com stream from me. There will not be a Pen and Pixels stream next Tuesday because I'm going to be driving out to Gen Con in Indianapolis. And after my stream on my own channel, I need to leave here probably by around 4 p.m. Eastern or so. So I need to rise up on out of here by then. So I will not be here in all likelihood next Tuesday, but I should be here, he said, by the Tuesday following, because I'm going to be coming back from having been on the road. So I should be here on the Tuesday following. Probably I'm going to be doing some Solasta because I don't want to have to worry about tabletop stuff on the day that I'm coming back from all of this. So that is my guess, and I'll talk about cool stuff that may or may not have happened. Cool stuff that may or may not have happened at Gen Con during that time. And then thereafter, we will make sure that we get Talisman Adventures and, of course, D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh in there as well. So that's the deal with that. No, I get it. I want more, too. I felt myself today like I was like, that's good. And it was too, I want more of it. I mean, listen. I'm you may have all noticed that I'm slightly a fan of D&D. Although I have to say, it's not that I'm a fan of the books, although obviously it's fun to read through them. What I am always a fan of is the storytelling and the players. That's the best part of D&D. I actually introduced some friends of the family to D&D for the first time over the weekend, and I was reminded again about just what a great game. Like, what a wonderful experience it is to introduce it to people. And it's great then to be able to play with each of these groups. And I really love playing with the GOG group because they're just a ton of fun and have great chemistry with each other. And it was great to see it. So more of that down the line. If you like what you saw and heard, please follow us here on GOG.com. Please subscribe to us here on GOG.com. And please click through and check out on our individual channels, our own Patreons and subsystems and good stuff like that. I will be off now Wednesday and Thursday. I'll be back on Friday on my channel for the premiere of a new campaign on my channel called Court of Blades. It is actually a Speculate, which is the actual play podcast that I run. Speculate is going to be doing this Court of Blades. We are sponsored by the designers of Court of Blades, the Drakes, who put together this really awesome video. If you want to see a lot of court intrigue, you saw a little bit of intrigue here, but if you want to see some serious court intrigue and kind of playing of politics and the dance of diplomats and all that kind of good stuff, you'll definitely want to be on my channel on Friday night. And then Saturday night, we have a premiere of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks, which is a mix of fantasy and science fiction. Think Final Fantasy VII Magitech-like. That's what we're going to be doing. So you'll definitely want to stop by for that. But otherwise, I'm going to rise up on out of here. I believe that tomorrow we have got, let me see, I think tomorrow schedule-wise, we've got, yes, that's right. Hammerting. So Saber's going to be with you. That's right. He mentioned that. Saberting's going to be here tomorrow right around the same time, actually earlier than I did, 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday the 27th. Dark Saber will be back with Hammerting. But otherwise, and then I will be back, as I say, on my own channel on Friday, Saturday. Next week, no GOG stream from me, but I will be back the week after that for Pen and Pixels. Thanks everyone for being here at episode 337 of Pen and Pixels, and much love as always to all of you folks, and I will catch you folks down the line. Until then, as I always say, everybody please be good to each other, and bye for now.